Live on a Wednesday edition, it's the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning is producing today's show. You out there? Ugly Phillies lost last night, and they are right back at it right now, down 2-0 to the Metropolitans in New York. Zach Wheeler gives up a atomic blast home run in this one. It's a 2-0 game as the Mets have the lead going for the sweep today. You know, the frustration is starting to mount, as you can tell. You play the Mets as a team in first place. They knocked you out of the playoffs. They've beaten you, 7 out of 8 or 8 out of 9, including the playoffs. And it magnifies the conversation of the problems with this team. Now, you could have problems and overcome them. You could also have problems and work through them. As we talked about yesterday, the Phillies are not getting enough ROI from their key guys, right? Trey Turner, the ROI is not there. Nick Castellanos, the ROI is not there. JT Realmuto, the ROI is not there. Aaron Nola right now, 0-5, ERA in the 6s. ROI is not there. You can probably navigate your way through this season and say, hey, we don't have what we want. We're not as good as we hope, but we're good enough. Is that enough? Is that on your mind? And I ask a simple question at Mike Gill Show. You can vote and be a part of it, and so far many of you have been voting. Appreciate that. What bothers you the most about this Phillies team? Is it Dombrowski? Is it Topper? Is it the bullpen? Is it the lack of offense? And the votes are kind of spread out. One guy that you take a look at and say, hey, what is up with this team right now? Dave Dombrowski has to be watching this game last night and wondering, man, do I have to do something here? We look a little lifeless. We're starting to look frustrated. We're starting to look like a team that maybe needs a little bit of a spark. To which, what do you generally do when you need a little bit of a spark? Well, that generally is the time where you say, I have two options here. One, I can make a big overhaul, right? I can make a big overhaul here, and I can try to trade this guy and that guy and that guy, and we just kind of shake it up, which seems to be a far-fetched situation, or you start to look to the scapegoat many times where they say, you can't get rid of the players, so what do? You start to look at the manager, right? Now, the reason Rob Thompson is the manager is because the previous manager seemingly couldn't get more out of this team, right? That was the thought. Joe Girardi was hired here as a championship manager, and the team was very disappointing. I think they were 22-28 at the time that Girardi was relieved of his duties, and here they go and bring in Rob Thompson. Rob Thompson at that point takes the team from 22-28 and leads them to the World Series. He then comes back the next year. The team improves on its win total, but they lose earlier in the playoffs in disappointing fashion to the Arizona Diamondbacks. He comes back last year. He wins even more games in the regular season, but they lose in disappointing fashion in the playoffs to the Mets. Well, here they are again with generally the same exact team. You know, I was looking at the 2024 roster and trying to see which guys are here or not here anymore that are now someplace else. And I have an article up at 973ESPN.com. There are 4 key players who are not here that were here last year. 3 of them are really key. Well, I don't want to say really key, but are having really good seasons right now. 1, Jeff Hoffman has been outstanding with the Blue Jays. 2, Carlos Estevez has been solid with the Royals. And Sir Anthony Dominguez has not given up a run yet this year in Baltimore. Gregory Soto has been okay with Baltimore, not great. But Dominguez, Hoffman, and Estevez would look pretty good in this bullpen right now. I think we can all agree there. The other guy is Austin Hayes, who has had like an outer body experience so far. He has gone bonkers in Cincinnati. In fact, he is the right-handed bat in the middle of their lineup, hitting number 4 in the Cincinnati lineup. He's hitting about 400. He's got 3 homers. He's had a great start of the season. Now, I don't think anybody's sitting here saying, holy mackerel, Austin Hayes, why did you let that guy go? But he is someplace else. He has been highly productive. You are still searching for a right-handed bat. So this team has not done essentially anything. They brought in Max Kepler. They brought in Jordan Romano, and they brought in Jesus Luzardo. That was like their 3 signature moves, right? So you gave up Hoffman, Estevez, Hayes for basically Romano, Kepler, and Luzardo. Now, Luzardo is probably the jewel of that group right there. You'd probably say, hey, of that group of guys, I'll take Luzardo, you take Hoffman, and then I would take Estevez, and you take, as you go through. But right now, you're watching this team, and you wonder, how do I shake this thing up? Is it, and I'm reading right now the results at Mike Gill Show. You can vote and let us know. What bothers you the most about this team right now? Is it Dombrowski, the offseason that he had, Topper, the manager of the team, the bullpen, or the lack of offense? A couple people chiming in early. Kevin is chiming in. He says Dombrowski has to go. What's the definition of insanity? Running it back with the same damn team year after year. Streaky hitters that swing for the fences and go cold for long stretches and a crappy bullpen. Time for a new GM. Philly fan checks in, says, it's honestly all 4, but I vote for the bullpen. Yeah, the bullpen's really bad. So this is where this gets interesting, right? What do? Most of the people voting right now at Mike Gill Show, 41% are saying the lack of offense is bothering them the most. Is that a surprise? That the lack of offense is what bothers them the most. I'm not surprised by any of the answers, generally. Lack of offense, that one, 41% of the fans are saying. That's what bothers them the most. And you know what? I don't have a problem with the lack of offense being your answer because that's where all your money's tied up. I got $300 million in 2 different players, $600+ million in 2 players. I have Castellanos, I've got Real Muto, and I've got Schwarber all making over $20 million a year. So that's a lot of money invested in my offense for this offense to be where, sadly, last night the only RBI in the game, correct me if I'm wrong, was knocked in by Johan Rojas. The one guy on the team that nobody thinks can hit is the only guy who came up and smacked one right back through the middle last night. So in this series, 21 runners left on base, 10 runners left in scoring position. And the only run knocked in yesterday is by Johan Rojas, the 9-hole hitter. And by the way, Rojas just belted another single and has tied this game up. So Rojas comes through again. Actually, he didn't tie it up. They only scored 1. Weren't the bases loaded? How did 1 run only come in on that? Jeez. So Rojas singles and they score, and so Rojas has another game where he's the one guy with an RBI. So I think it's fair to say the lack of offense is fair to vote if you're saying that's my first vote. Coming in second with 33% of the vote is the bullpen. The bullpen, listen, nobody can argue with any of these answers. I think you can come up with a good reason for all the answers. The bullpen has been disastrous because now Dombrowski, you could say he did invest in this offense. If you're the GM and you go out and get Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, you would say, hey, man, this guy went out and spent money on the offense. The lack of offense should bother you, but do you blame Dombrowski for this? That would be one question. The bullpen. This is where you can certainly blame Dombrowski. He let Hoffman and Estevez walk. He traded Dominguez and Soto. So you got 4 arms that aren't here from last year. And he replaced him with Jordan Romano. Not sufficient. Like, you let Hoffman and Estevez walk, and you replaced him with one guy who was broken down last year. Turner with a base hit has tied the game. So it's 2-2 now. So there you go. For $300 million, you get a single to the right side. So the bullpen, I think you could definitely look at Dombrowski and say, hey, listen, he spent a lot of money. He definitely looked at the offense. He spent money. Those guys aren't coming through. The bullpen, I think he neglected. I think the bullpen, he did not spend the same type of money. He did not put the same resources into that bullpen. So I think 33.6% on the bullpen are fair. 17% say Dombrowski is, in fact, what bothers them the most right now. Well, as Kevin mentioned, ran it back, same team, year after year, streaky hitters, swing for the fences. These are also the same guys that got him to a World Series, got him to 95 wins. So he's looking at that and saying, hey, I know we're going to be streaky at times, but, hey, we're going to win 90, 95 games. We're going to make the playoffs with this crew. I spent a lot of money on these guys. They're going to get us there. They're going to get us there, and maybe when it all matters the most, the streakiness will be the hot streak. Is it the best way to look at it? Probably not. But Dombrowski, I think, can definitely be looked at and said, what's up with this bullpen? Where's the right-handed bat to even this lineup out? Now, today, Weston Wilson is in the lineup. He is playing left field today. No Max Kepler. Are we already starting to see? And by the way, Sosa is in the lineup today. And Stott, who's been maybe the best guy you've had over the last 2 weeks. Like it or not, Stott has produced as the leadoff guy. And I can't say I was a big fan of putting Stott in the leadoff hole, but he has produced. But he's sitting today as Sosa is playing. So Dombrowski has spent a lot of money on the offense, overlooked the bullpen, put a lot of resources into his starting pitching. Is Dombrowski what bothers you the most right now? And then with 8% of the vote, you've got the manager, Rob Thompson. So only 8% are saying, hey, Topper is the problem. Which I agree with these people. He is very low on the list. But the question goes to, when you can't fire the players, do you have to look at the manager? Now, the manager is the fall guy, right? He's the village idiot for people. People don't know the game, so they blame the manager. Oh, it's the manager's fault. The manager doesn't have anything to do with this team right now struggling. They are just short in the bullpen. Rob Thompson can't throw strikes. He can't get people out, right? When you're calling on the guys that Dombrowski gives him, what is he supposed to do? You'll be the same guy that complains the bullpen's not good enough. And then in the same breath, blame Thompson for turning to the bullpen. Or not turning to the bullpen at certain times. He should have gone to the bullpen there. Well, every one of these guys you just ripped. You said they all stink. So the lowest common denominator argument is always it's the manager's fault, right? The village idiot blames the manager all the time. However, in sports, the problem with the village idiot conversation is he's the guy that's the easiest one to get rid of. I can't get rid of Nick Castellanos. Nobody wants him. I can't get rid of Trey Turner. Nobody wants that contract. I can't get rid of JT Realmuto. He's making $23 million. No one's taking on that money right now. So it's hard to say, yes, these are all bigger problems, but what do I do? Are we at the point where Dombrowski's watching this team and saying, man, I can't keep watching the same problems night in and night out. I have to do something because the people are getting restless out there. Now, it's very early in the season. It's April the 23rd. The calendar hasn't even flipped to the second full month of the season yet. But let's just say the way this game started today, they got swept by the Mets. They're down 2-0, and there's a leadoff double for the Mets here in the fourth, maybe even a triple. That ball took a nice caroff off the wall. Now they're going to hold him at 2. Is that the only move that Dave Dombrowski has to make? 609-403-0973. Let's see what the text board says as we get ready to crank things up on a Wednesday edition. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Q Myers is going to talk draft. He is in Green Bay right now for the draft, and we'll get his thoughts on what are the big stories at this draft, because draft is tomorrow, by the way. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. We'll read off your text messages and kind of get the feel of what people think right now. Mike, Thompson has lost this team. Ever since the All-Star break last year, his message is stale. The team is unmotivated. When guaranteed to make millions, what motivates them? Being benched, called out in public. Dombrowski should go too, but the team chemistry mantra is not working. Has Thompson lost this team? Is that what you guys are seeing? Are you seeing a team that the manager has lost? Now, generally, a team that when the manager loses the team, that's where the situation comes in, where Joe Girardi essentially had lost the team. The message was not getting from him, was not resonating with this group of guys. You have guys like Bryce Harper, Schwarber, more veteran players who didn't want that type of guy, who didn't want the grind me, on me all the time. So now are we suggesting that the Phillies, who found the guy who's very popular amongst the players, has become too popular amongst the players? Is that what we're kind of saying here? 609-403-0973. Dan in EHC says this is not Dombrowski's team. This is Harper's team. Harper's the GM. Interesting take from Dan in EHT.
If we get back up to the previous texter, Mike, I want to say that that texter, whoever it was, may say that Thompson is the problem, but Ruben Amaro Jr. definitely disagrees with it. This is from the Phillies Show podcast.
The team has to fire themselves up. I mean, these are professionals. Every once in a while, it's not a bad thing for Rob to go off the handle, but that's not his job. The team has to do it themselves. I mean, there's a time and a place maybe to do it, but we're, 16, 17 games into the season, guys. They got to fire themselves up. They got to get themselves going themselves. And yes, I know he is part of the motivation factor, but part of it is being steady and being confident in his players.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we all have that feeling of if you're a professional making millions of dollars, you don't need someone to motivate you, right? Right? You don't need someone to motivate you. As I watched that game last night, and I tweeted this out at whatever time the game was over, it just occurs to me as I'm watching the game, right? This is how I'm watching the game, that when the game is over, my initial thought is, I've watched the game and this was my feeling. I wonder how much more of this lineup Dave Dombrowski can keep watching. The ROI, the money he spent, is just not there for him. So if he's watching that game last night, is he watching it the same way I am? You know, I'm just some schmuck watching the game in my bedroom last night.
Well, I hope he is, but I mean, it seems like he isn't because, as someone mentioned earlier, he keeps repeating the same recipe, expecting a different result.
Well, a lot of people chiming in. 609-403-0973. Mike, they need to shake things up a little bit. Little trade, send a message. Bullpen arm has become priority number one. Steven Vettner. You look at this team now. They brought Weston Wilson up. He's playing today. I can't imagine they think Weston Wilson platooning in left field will now change the dynamics of this team.
Well, again, you hope not, but for whatever reason, this is the same organization that thought Max Kepler was going to upgrade this team this offseason.
Mm-hmm. I think if you are looking for a spark, a change, something, the manager's at the top of the list, right? It's got to be.
I mean,
I just don't know if the Phillies, if Dave Dombrowski has reached that point. Like, I'm watching the game last night, and I'm not saying, my God, they got to fire Thompson. I'm just saying, you got to do something. How much more of this can he watch where the team just can't hit out of a wet paper bag? I mean, just guys left on base constantly, which I'm not blaming the manager for. But at what point does Dombrowski say, look, I can't get rid of these players. They're here. I've got to do something. And then that's the guy.
Well, my follow-up to that would be, Dan and I think it was Dan HC who said this is Harper's team, not Dombrowski's team. Maybe Dombrowski needs to call Harper up to his office and be like, talk to me. Like, I need you to tell me, like, what is wrong with you guys? Because if you can't give me a straight answer, I got to do something, and it's going to be Thompson. So, Harper, it's on you to save Thompson's job right now.
609-403-0973. Ryan in the HC says, Dombrowski doesn't get enough blame for this mess he's created. The players they have aren't good enough, and that's due to poor roster construction. Listen, Ryan, we like to sensationalize. This team has been to the playoffs 3 straight years. He has built the team that got to the playoffs 3 straight years after, mind you, not being to the playoffs for 10 straight seasons, right? So, yes, this team has flaws. Is it a mess? What level of problems does this team have? Are they major problems, extreme problems, or just minor problems? I think that's what we need to kind of take a step back. We're frustrated because we all want to win a championship. We want to see another World Series. But to suggest, look, he got a team to a World Series. They've upped their win total the last 2 seasons, and those seasons have ended in disappointing fashion. But is it a total mess, or does it just need some minor tweaks?
When you say minor tweaks, like for you, what would be a minor tweak? Is it like just adding one bullpen arm? Is it adding another center fielder? Like, what do you consider a minor tweak?
Well, they definitely need to add to the bullpen. I think that's obvious. And that might be a move that you need to make sooner than later. You can't wait to the deadline and let this bullpen keep rocking and rolling out there. So that's one. Now, this Weston Wilson, he's up here. Is he going to be a full-time platoon now? Or is this still Max Kepler's job every day like they said when they signed him? Or do you see a straight platoon? And does Wilson platooning add to the offense enough that holds you down for at least May and June and July? Remember, there's 3 months to the trade deadline. We're going to get into it all. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. More Sports Bash coming up. Phils are tied 2-2 in the 5th. Peterson on the mound for the Mets. He's a lefty. That's why no Kepler and no Stott today in the lineup. We'll keep you up to date if you're watching on the YouTube stream and on the X platform. The scroll at the bottom will have you the scores and the updates. Your text message can come in all throughout the show right here on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. Parks. All right, 2:30 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Phil's in action today. It's 2-2 in the fifth as they're looking to avoid the sweep to the Metropolitans. Zach Wheeler on the mound, bottom five. Mets up to bat, but last night, another lifeless night from the Phils. And you know what happens when a team starts to look lifeless and you can't trade the players. You start to get the questions about the manager. Do you have to make something there? Do you have to make a change there? Are we already at that point of this season, Mike, where can't trade all the players? This is who Dombrowski brought in. If I want a little spark, I might have to look to the manager.
Absolutely not at this point on April 23rd or, any day going forward the rest of this season. I think, to sort of put the manager under the gauntlet right now, to me, is just kind of crazy. And I think what the Phillies are going through right now is they're actually up against, a team that is playing probably the best of any team in baseball right now in the New York Mets on April 23rd. Will the Mets be the best team in baseball on May 23rd, July 23rd, August 23rd, October 23rd? I don't think so. But right now, the Phillies are just catching the Mets in the middle of a hot streak.
You look at this team. I said the other day, one of the big problems, everybody wants to look at Dombrowski, the roster that he put together. It's, it's a mess. And, I look at the problems they have. Sure, Bohm, Marsh, those guys, slow start. But the ROI from the guys that they paid the big money to, ultimately, when you break down the crux of the issues, isn't it that the ROI you're getting from Turner and Realmuto and Castellanos, and to some extent Harper and Schwarber, is not what you paid for?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we spent a lot of time discussing Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh and discussing Max Kepler in left field, and maybe we wouldn't be discussing them that much if Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, JT Realmuto were doing what they're supposed to be doing. Having said that, your die is kind of cast with those guys. You're not moving away from any of those guys. If those guys don't perform or perform like they have the first 3 weeks of the season, you're not going to win a World Series with the way they're playing. So, it might be nice to express some frustration at Dave Dombrowski. And although I do agree that the Phillies right now, I think, have some structural problems, the answer isn't changing any of those guys. Those guys are going nowhere.
What are some of the structural problems that you see, Mike, and is there a way to fix the structural damage?
Well, yeah, the number one problem I see is the bullpen, right? I mean, they look to be an arm or two short down there, and I can see Dombrowski's offseason sort of thinking on it. They kind of expected Orion Kirkland to take a step forward. So far in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season, especially last night, especially the outing on, I think it was, Sunday's game against the Marlins, Kirkland has not stepped forward. In fact, he has been, a guy who has kind of put gasoline on that fire. Jordan Romano's ups and downs have been well chronicled. So two guys that they were kind of counting on that bullpen to sort of step forward have not. And I think even with those two guys, even if they were operating at an optimum level, I still think you'd be short a guy or two in that bullpen. So that's number one, is the bullpen. And then it's a dead spot in the lineup between left field and center field. And these days, when you have a DH and the pitcher doesn't hit anymore, you can't have 1.5 or maybe sometimes 2 dead spots in the lineup. You're just not going to, be an elite team with that sort of structure.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Phillies and the Mets, it's 2-2 in the fifth. You mentioned Rojas. He had the one RBI last night. He had another one today. He's the one guy who hit the ball back through the middle. Last night he had basically the same hit that drove in a run today. So are you okay with him just kind of holding down center field until Marsh gets back and then those two guys platooning? Or ultimately, is that the first move they need to kind of look at?
Well, I'm okay with it on this looking at it like this. They can't continue, I don't think, with the combination of Marsh, Rojas, and Kepler. You have to fix one of those outfield spots. I think you need a right-handed power bat, somebody established to go in there. Then I can sort of live with Marsh and Rojas. But if Kepler's going to hit like he's hitting now, and Marsh is going to hit like he's hitting now, no, I can't live with that. So that's the other structural problem to me, is this inability to get that right-handed bat in, that power bat, right, to sort of come in and sort of supplement the lineup. So I think as they're presently constituted, you can't go forward with Marsh, Rojas, and Kepler and expect them to be the answers. And, Mike, I don't think Weston Wilson is the answer, too.
That was my follow-up.
Yeah, I think eventually Dave Dombrowski is going to have to sit back and ask himself, hey, do I want to go out and get a good right-handed power bat, and what is that going to cost me? And have the fans, the texters to your show, ask themselves this question. Are they willing to sort of give, an Aiden Miller up, a Jordan Crawford up, another prospect up to get that right-handed bat? What comfortable level do they have balancing out winning now versus the future? I think that's a question Dave Dombrowski is going to have to ask, and these fans are going to have to ask themselves the same exact question.
Mike, how comfortable are you with Bryson Stott? He's not hitting leadoff today. He's not in the lineup today because there's a left-handed pitcher. How comfortable are you with that situation? He's done a fair job in that position, but he's not playing against lefties, so he's not even in the lineup, let alone leading off. Do you like him, though? Are you okay with that moving forward?
Yeah, I like him and what he's done so far as the leadoff spot. I think he's kind of out of the lineup today. Obviously, tough left-hander and Peterson throwing for the Mets, and I think they want to get Armando Sosa in there day game after a night game, so I think there's a number of factors there. But since Stott, however, has moved to the leadoff spot, he just seems to me to be playing with more energy. He just seems to have an extra bounce in his step. His at-bats seem better. He's taking more pitches. He's actually hitting for some power a little bit. So, yeah, I like the switch for him going to that lineup. And plus, I like that sort of speed at the top of the lineup with Stott and Turner. Those guys can get on base. They can make things happen, go first to third, maybe steal some bases, more action on the base paths. The Phillies just look more alive to me, and Stott looks more alive batting leadoff. So, I like what he's done at the leadoff spot. In fact, I'd go one further, Mike. I would, I understand Peterson's a tough lefty today. Like I said, day game after a night game, get Sosa in there. But I'd like to see them maybe try Stott leading off against the lefty a little bit and see how that looks, too.
Well, yeah, you wonder if that's a straight platoon at second base and it's just Sosa plays there against left-handed pitching. And now Wilson, as you mentioned, is he going to get the everyday rep? They originally said Kepler was an everyday player. Are you already changing your mind on Kepler, changing your mind on Marsh? Are you changing your mind at second base as well? Are you looking at three platoon situations? That's a story that's happened. How about the story with Christopher Sanchez? He said he felt normal today. He wanted to play catch. There was a lot of concern last night. He left after 2 innings, 59 pitches, and people are saying, why are you pulling this guy from the game? Well, we find out later, he had a little tightness in the forearm, but it sounded as if Ranger Suarez was not even going to be an option to come up and pitch. He's going to throw on Sunday again in the minor leagues for a rehab assignment. Now, apparently Suarez did not talk to the media last night either, but is that something you're keeping an eye on, or do you think Sanchez will be okay?
I'd be concerned with that, Mike. Anytime a pitcher leaves with forearm tightness is a bad sign, basically. And sometimes it can be brushed aside. I've seen it in, cases where they kind of brush it aside and then, 2 to 3 months later, it can't be brushed aside anymore. So, yeah, I would definitely be concerned with Christopher Sanchez and that tightness. It's great that he felt well today. It's great that I don't think they're going to be sending him for an MRI. I think Rob Thompson said today they're going to push his next start back to the end of next week. That's all fine. But, hey, anytime a pitcher comes to you and says, it's like a basketball player coming to you and saying, my knee hurts. Anytime you hear the words, left forearm tightness or right forearm tightness for right-handed pitchers, it's a warning sign, and it's a warning sign especially because you look at Nola kind of struggling here a little bit, and you can actually make a case that Sanchez is like the second best starter in the rotation. So it's not like your number 5 starter right now is kind of having some health issues. So everything's sort of magnified there with the way things are going.
All right, I'm going to throw a scenario at you. We talked about this late in the show yesterday. I want to get your thoughts, all right? Andrew Painter is thought to be maybe the best pitching prospect in baseball right now, right? All right. Let's say he calls up in July and he makes an impact similar to what Paul Skeens did for Pittsburgh. Now, I'm not saying better. I'm just saying, he's 8-1 with a 2 ERA, and he's just cruising. You've got Wheeler, Luzardo, Sanchez. Does Andrew Painter have to pitch that game? Does he go to the bullpen? Does Nola go to the bullpen? How would something like that, in your mind, play out?
Well, I would think that Nola would pitch the game only because Nola's not going to come out of the bullpen, and maybe Painter, can come out of the bullpen, and warm up like that. But they're not going to take Aaron Nola and put him in the bullpen and have him come out of the bullpen and not have him start a playoff game. So I understand what you're saying about Painter. I think Painter is a fascinating case. How are they going to use him? Is he going to start? Is he going to piggyback some games? Is he going to throw once a week? What's his inning count? Do you use up all his innings in the regular season to get you to the postseason? Do you try to save some of his innings to the postseason so you can maybe get deeper into the postseason? I think they've got a lot of questions to answer about how they use Andrew Painter, and a lot of those questions, a lot of those answers will depend on, hey, is Christopher Sanchez healthy? Has Aaron Nola pulled out of his funk? If Aaron Nola continues to pitch the way he has pitched, they might have to go get another starter. He might be Ranger Suarez in there in Game 4, so you never know what's going to happen, but I think a lot of their answers for how they use Painter are going to depend on how the rest of the starting rotation performs the rest of the season.
All right. By the way, Alec Boehm just crushed one. He got robbed on a play by the nice play by the left fielder Nimmo there. Boehm was 2 for 2. He just got a third hit taken away from him there. So good play by Brandon Nimmo, the left fielder. 2-2 in the 6th, and that's where we are for the Phillies. By the way, the bottom of the Phillies lineup has been the guys doing the damage today. 2 hits for Boehm, 1 for Sosa, 1 for Wilson, 1 for Rojas, and then Turner and Harper. It's the middle, Schwarber and Castellanos, Real Muto. Those guys have not come through. A ton of guys left on base, the ups and downs of this lineup. Hey, it sounds like a conversation we might have had in 2022, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, Mike, and I was struck by this the other night. I was up there Monday night, and Nick Castellanos said the same thing a couple of days ago, but we were talking to Trey Turner after the game, and he kind of said we're pressing, right? We're pressing. We're trying too hard. I know some fans think the team needs a fire lit under it. I think it's just the opposite. I think they put too much pressure on themselves. And I sort of asked Trey Turner, I said, look, you guys are a veteran ball club. Track records, you've all won. It's early in the season. You think you would be immune to sort of pressures, that you would be able to rely on your resume and you wouldn't feel the need to press. But he said it's just the opposite. He said for whatever the reason is, and Nick Castellanos has said the same thing, that this group, when they don't hit or they leave a guy on base, they just maybe want it so bad they start pressing, they start squeezing the bat handle, and then they start chasing, sliders in the opposite batter's box and sort of spirals down from there. So I don't know how you change a team mindset, but I don't, people who think they don't care or there's they need a buffet table tossed over or somebody's got a lot of fire under them. I think it's just the opposite in talking to them. I think sometimes they might care too much and are putting too much pressure on themselves, which I find sort of astounding that a guy like Trey Turner, in an April baseball game is putting, squeezing the bat handle too tight in the 7th inning of game 25 against the New York Mets on a 40-degree day at Citi Field.
Mike McGarry, everybody from the Press of Atlantic City. By the way, so the poll question we have, what bothers you the most about this Phillies team? 40% is the leader, 32% is next, then 17 and 9. Your options are Topper, Dombrowski, lack of offense, bullpen. What bothers people the most right now?
Well, what bothers me the most is the bullpen, and maybe you can tie that to Dombrowski because his moves to improve the bullpen so far, i.e. trusting Kirkring that was going to take another step, signing Jordan Romano haven't worked. But to me, the number one factor, and when I say this team is structurally flawed right now, it would be in that bullpen. I think maybe they were asking too much of Kirkring. Romano comes in here, he's hurt. I think they're an arm or two short in that bullpen. And then to me, if I'm going to go, that's one. Although I like a lot of stuff Dombrowski has done, I think he might be kicking himself that he didn't go out and get a right-handed bat, to sort of play one of the corner outfielder spots right there. So those are the two things that would bother me. But number one on my list is the bullpen. It cost them a game on Sunday. You can make a case that it cost them last night's game, too.
All right, Mike, I got a busy week. I know Coaches versus Cancer this weekend, so big weekend over in Margate. I see you're out doing some afternoon high school games right now with everybody on the spring break. So finally some nice weather out there for the local baseball.
Yeah, as you said, you mentioned big weekend over at the Jerome Avenue Fields. Saturday night, Coaches versus Cancer actually starts tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The big games, Saturday night, 7 o'clock, St. Augustine versus Gloucester Catholic, renew their rivalry. Great setting over there on Jerome Avenue, great field. Coaches versus Cancer, one of the highlights of the high school sports season. Just a great overall event, raises money for the American Cancer Society, great baseball. So if you have a free moment, you want to watch some good baseball. If you want to watch some old-time baseball, if you like bunting, come and watch high school baseball. You'll see plenty of bunting, plenty of small ball, plenty of hit and run. Baseball the way it was in the 80s.
All right, Mike, well, we'll see you over there, man.
All right, see you later, Mike.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofaz.com, kind of their super utility guy. He is there. Edmundo Sosa, who has a couple hits today for the Phils. He just got on base here in the sixth, and they've got Max Kepler actually coming to the plate. It looks like he is hitting for Weston Wilson, so they're already making a move. Wilson is out, and Kepler is in here in the sixth inning. We'll get you updated on everything that happens. That's coming up here on the Sports Bash, live on 97.3 ESPN. 2:53. Q Myers next hour is going to join us live from Green Bay for the draft. We'll get thoughts on what's going to happen all up and down the draft board. He did his full mock draft on his show. I was the picker last night for the Eagles at pick number 32. You know who I got?
I'm very curious to hear who you got.
Pick 32. I sprinted to the podium.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like a full-blown sprint, or kind of like you started slow and then sped up?
Nope. As soon as they sent me all the picks that had been made. So Q Myers does his on-air mock draft
Right.
leading up to the draft. And I was last, 32. I was the picker for the Eagles last night. So he sent me all 31 picks. You know, his producer sent me a text and had to type out every single pick that had been made by every other media person across the country.
Someone that was that guy a beer.
Exactly. So when I looked at the text message when I was coming up to pick, I said, no one has taken Walter Nolan?
Wow.
So when it was my turn to pick, I sprinted to the podium, I told him, and I took Walter Nolan at number 32.
Walter Nolan, one of the Eagles' pre-draft visitors, by the way.
Yeah, well, if that is on the board tomorrow, will the Eagles sprint to take Walter Nolan? What are some of the big storylines from Green Bay? We'll talk to Q Myers from ESPN Radio. Joe and Q, weekdays right here on 97.3 ESPN. He joins us on the other side live from Lambeau Field in Green Bay with an update on the 2025 draft. Don't go away. That's next. This is the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Just over 24 hours away from the NFL Draft. The Sports Bash will be live tomorrow at Ocean Casino Resort. We'll be at the Gallery Bar booking games, getting ready for the Eagles draft party. Somebody is walking away with a pair of Eagles tickets, club box seats for a game, and you'll get to take your picture with the beautiful Lombardi trophy. It will be on hands. We'll have a guy with white gloves holding the trophy so you can get your picture taken tomorrow at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City for the Eagles draft party. So what are all the big storylines leading up to the draft? I said last night, Q Myers had me on his local show in Vegas, and I was the picker for the Eagles, and I ran to the podium when it was the Eagles' chance to pick for Walter Nolan. Well, how possible is it a player like Walter Nolan makes it to that point? Are the Eagles a team, even at 32, that others have their eye on, and what are some of the big storylines? We're getting into that now as we go out to Green Bay and check in on the NFL draft. Q Myers, you hear him right here on 97.3 ESPN. He is the host of Joe and Q, weekdays at noon on 97.3 ESPN, and he joins me now from Green Bay at the NFL draft. What's up, my friend? How are you?
Man, I'm good. How are you doing? I know you're going to have a great party there, celebrating and having people take a picture with the Lombardi. But, man, I miss our times at the front of the Rocky Steps, man. I need to get back together with you at another NFL draft.
I wish I was there. I've never been to Green Bay. Would love to check out the stadium and see the whole town and see how it all just breathes football. But they have the draft there now. And when it was in Philly, obviously the Rocky Steps and the Art Museum, it took over that town. I have to imagine, now it's probably not filling up quite yet, that it is going to be a special scene. What do they have kind of special, different at Lambeau than they have at some of the – I'm sure all these towns do something that is kind of unique to their city. You seeing anything yet that is kind of standing out about Green Bay?
It's really intimate. That's the thing about it, because it's a smaller city. It's not Philadelphia. So it's really, really intimate. I got to Lambeau Field this morning at about 7:15 local time because we had an event with the NFL draft prospects about an hour later. But I just wanted to walk the area and walk the stadium and kind of walk through the neighborhoods, because the stadium's in the middle of the neighborhood. It's almost like, you're in a college town and you're rolling up to the local football stadium, and you got people that are parking cars on their grass and everything like that. That's what's going on here. So people are so excited. The energy level is up. And I'm telling you, man, when I was walking, even though I was by myself, I was out there and I'm just looking around. You just felt some kind of way because you knew you were at Lambeau Field. Like, really, I'm at Lambeau Field. I'm walking down Lombardi Drive. Like, what are we talking about? The Lombardi is the trophy, right? Your listeners are going to be taking pictures with that bad boy. I was walking up and down the street earlier today. It is so nostalgic here. This is really, really cool. Man, this is just one of the blessings of being able to do what we do on the daily, is to have an opportunity to do something like this and see a draft here in Green Bay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really unique setting out there. It's going to be really cool. And it seems that one of the things with this draft is you're going to get action right from the start. Give us some buzz. We know Cam Ward is likely going to go number 1. But do you think starting at number 2, Q, that things will start to get interesting, or is that starting to settle in your mind?
I think it's settled in at number 2. I think it really gets interesting at number 3. What do the Giants really do, right? I mean, everyone feels Abdul Carter is the no-brainer, but, I mean, is there a shot that they take a quarterback? Do they go Shador Sanders number 3? Or is the slide that everyone's anticipating, is that a real thing, right? So that's kind of where it starts for me, is number 3. I think at number 2, Travis Hunter is the guy that's going to go, and Cleveland's going to be happy with him, and I think they should. Now, the other interesting part of this, and we're starting to hear a lot more of this, and I was able to talk to a couple of the analysts like Daniel Jeremiah and Charles Davis just a little while ago at this event, and they seem to think that there could be a chance that you'll see some mystery team that we don't know about jump up all of a sudden, at the last second, jump up and decide to go to maybe a 2 or a 3 and make a trade, whether that's for a Genti or a Travis Hunter or whatever the case may be. So that could be a little storyline. But, whenever we start hearing that, I feel like we all get fired up and excited and think that, okay, I'm waiting for this trade to happen. And then it doesn't happen. So I'm just going to assume that it's going to be Cam Ward 1, Travis Hunter 2, and then everything starts with the G-Men there at number 3.
Yeah, G-Men going to be interesting because of the quarterback situation. They signed 2. If there's a quarterback there, do they feel compelled, or are they just not enamored with the quarterbacks? Where are you on this year's quarterback class situation and how that might be a storyline tomorrow night?
Yeah, it's funny. I like Shador a lot. Shador is my number one quarterback. I think Cam Ward probably has the higher ceiling between the two guys. But I just think that Shador is who Shador is going to be. He's a guy that's very accurate. He's a guy that knows how to play the quarterback position. And, it wasn't too long ago where people were yelling and screaming at me that you can't win with a quarterback that runs. Now people are discrediting him because he's not a quarterback that runs, right? So it's like, wait, hold on. You were the same one that told me you can't have a running quarterback. You're not going to win that way. And now that he's not a running quarterback, it's like, oh, no, he's not athletic enough. So I don't know how the goalposts have moved, but it has. I like Shador a lot. I think he's a tough kid with getting beat up with that offensive line he had at Colorado and no run game. He did a lot with a little. So I think that he's going to be a really good one. Cam Ward's good. The one to me, though, that really is intriguing, Mike, and I don't know what this guy's going to be in the league, I have to admit, but Jalen Milroe is the big, question mark for me. Can he turn into a franchise quarterback? I know he's got it between the ears. He won academic awards for being as smart as he was. Just, and that's honors right there, right? I mean, he's got the traits, but can he turn it into, being a franchise quarterback? And talking to him earlier today, man, he's just got the right mindset. He's like, wherever I go, I hope a veteran is in front of me so I can sit there and learn from him a little bit and kind of pick their brain. And he just went through his whole everything, everything that he does, where he gets his sense of direction from, his mindset from, everything. I just come away really impressed from him, and he's going to be here. So is he going to be a guy in the first round? Is he going to be a second-round guy? And we asked him, hey, did you accept the invite because you think you're going in the first round? He's like, no, I'm one of 15 that's going to walk across the stage. I get to tell my kids that one day, hey, I walked across the stage where all these other guys, 200-something people got drafted. I'm one of 15 that actually went across the stage and shook the commissioner's hand. So he's here for the experience, and he's not worried about if he gets picked in the first or second round, which is a hell of a mindset to have. I don't know if I can do that, knowing that the cameras will be on him the whole time, wondering when he's going to get selected.
Yeah, I definitely – the fact that you've got I don't know, you're out there. You guys, obviously on the national level are talking a lot about it. Your local show, you did your mock draft to which everybody's bringing the conversation. The Eagles pick it at 32. It seems that the buzz isn't quite the same. Does this draft have the same buzz as ones you've covered previously because of the lack of, high-profile multiple quarterbacks?
Yeah, the buzz is a little bit less than normal, right? I mean, I have the buzz for the draft because I love the draft, and that's just what it is. But with that being said, I mean, this is a draft where I think Daniel Jeremiah said it best. He said there's a lot of starters in this draft. There's not a lot of stars. So when you don't have that star power, you don't have all the anticipation of all these different trades that are going to happen. Like last year, 6 quarterbacks going in the top 12 and then 7 wide receivers in the first round. You're not going to have that kind of fireworks. Matter of fact, I was told to expect to see about 20 to 25 guys selected in the trenches in round 1. Think about that. Offensive line, defensive line, probably about 20 guys are going to be selected out of 32. Think about that. And then think about where you selected when you made the pick at 32. You were in the trenches, right? So, I mean, it's just there you go. So, the trenches are never a sexy pick. They're never a sexy, a guy, oh, hey, you're going to go select Walter Nolan. Oh, man, all right, Super Bowl, here we come. Obviously for the Eagles, that's great because they just came out of the Super Bowl and they know what they're doing. But, for a team like the Raiders, if they go and get Armand Membu at 7 or 6, nobody's going to get excited and go out and buy his jersey. They're going to be like, oh, okay, a right tackle, yay, right? But he can end up being the best pick because he could be there 10 years. So it's a deep draft when it comes to starters. It's not a deep draft when it comes to stars.
Q Myers is with us from ESPN Radio. Of course, you hear him right here from noon to 2 on 97.3 ESPN. The Sanders story, I mean, obviously he is all over the map. Where ultimately should he be on the map?
I'll tell you where I would like him to be. I'd like him to be at number 6. If we're being real, I'd like the Raiders to go up to the podium and grab him at 6 if he's there. And I'll tell you why. They've got Geno Smith. That's cool. Right? But, I mean, he's 35 years old. He's on a 3-year deal, and I don't think any of us are going to lie to ourselves and say he's a franchise quarterback for years to come. He's Mr. Right Now. Great. Cool. I think that the Raiders would be smart if they went and decided to grab him at 6 and let him sit behind Geno for a year, learn the game a little bit more, and then boom, be out there ready to go. He's a star. I mean, he's made for the big lights and the headlines and everything. And if that doesn't scream Las Vegas, I don't know what it is. And oh, by the way, they haven't had a real franchise quarterback in, well, I couldn't tell you how long, right? I mean, Derek Carr was there 9 years, but it seems like 18 years since he's been there, and it's only been a handful of years. So it's just, I think that's where they should go. I think the Giants, there's an argument that he can go number 3 and should go number 3 because Russell Wilson ain't it. Jameis Winston ain't it. You need to get a franchise quarterback. I just feel like, Mike, that in the Shedeur Sanders conversation, you either love him or you hate him. I feel like you can't, like, it's not okay to pick in the middle. Like, yeah, I think he's a good player. No, that's not okay. You pick a side. You either love him or hate him. And I don't think that that's the same for everybody. Like, nobody's saying that about Cam Ward. Yeah, I think Cam Ward's cool. All right, that's fine. But it's almost like, it's almost like you're picking Tupac or Biggie. Like, you got to pick a side, right? You can't be, hey, I rock with everybody because they're hip hop. No, you got to pick one side. You're either West Side or East Side, right? I mean, whatever. So I don't understand why it's like that with Shedeur, except for the fact that it's Shedeur, and a lot of people don't like him because of his last name and his daddy.
Yeah, Browns, then the Giants there, 2 and 3. What do you think the Giants hope the Browns do?
I think that they're good. I think that they know that they're going to go Travis Hunter, and I think that leaves it wide open for the Giants to go Abdul Carter. They can go and get their quarterback if they want. I think the Giants understand the assignment. They know what's going to happen. So, I think, honestly, to be honest with you, I think they wish that Tennessee would go like Travis Hunter and Cleveland go Shedeur. I think that the Giants would love to have Cam Ward. I think the Giants would love to have Cam Ward. I think Cleveland would love to have Cam Ward because of his super strong arm and the climate that they're playing in, right? That's why I don't think that Cleveland or New York is a good place for Shedeur, because he's got a strong enough arm, but it's not some cannon, right? He doesn't have the strongest arm, and I think those elements are not the easiest to play in, especially in Cleveland, coming off that water, man. That's not easy. So I think that plays a factor. But yeah, if all things were equal, I think the Giants wish that they could have an opportunity to get Cam Ward, and they could have, but they won a game late in the season against the Colts that meant nothing, and now they're not in that position.
All right, Q Myers from ESPN Radio is with us here. How many quarterbacks do you see going tomorrow night?
2. Well, I'm going to say 3. I'm going to say there's going to be 3 quarterbacks taken. There's going to be Cam goes 1. Shedeur is going to go somewhere between 1 and 21, which is wild, 2 and 21, which is wild to say. And then there's going to be one of the 2 is going to be selected. Either Jalen Milroe, someone's going to trade up for him, or Jackson Dart, someone's going to trade up for him. That's my prediction. So I guess that'll be 3 total.
So 3 total there. All right. So Ward, Sanders, you think Milroe or Dart after somewhere in the 20 to 32 range. Just 3 quarterbacks possibly here. What about the rebirth of the running back and what that will mean for tomorrow night?
Yeah, that's going to be big, and especially when you start with the number 1 running back in Ashton Genty. There was a time when he was linked to the Raiders, like going way back to the Combine. I think Mel Kiper and others started saying, hey, Ashton Genty to the Raiders at 6. And I kept saying, I don't know, man, that's a little high for a running back, right? And everyone started saying, yeah, but look what Saquon Barkley did. And I said, yeah, well, the Eagles have the number 1 offensive line. They have a really good quarterback. They've got weapons on the outside. So they're built to have a running back like that. And so I was like poo-pooing on Genty at 6. I was like, I just think that that's too high. You can get a difference maker there at that spot. And now, Mike, the conversation is he even going to be available at number 6? Like, he could be gone as early as 4, which is blowing my mind. So I think that Genty is really the wild card. Talking to him, he kind of hinted at he thinks the Bears are going to be interested in trading up for him. So that's one to pay attention to. They're picking at number 10. So I can see, Genty obviously is going to be gone. Amarion Hampton from North Carolina, he'll be gone. Now, could a guy like Judkins sneak into for round 1? Could Travion Henderson sneak into round 1? Possible. So I see 3. I'll say 3 running backs are going to go as well in round 1. And obviously, so I'll say one of the 2, like Judkins or Henderson, will be.
Robinson a couple of years ago to Atlanta, you didn't really see that running back. Now you're saying possibly 3. Oh, how things have changed. Q Myers is with us, the host of Joe and Q. weekdays on 97.3 ESPN. He is at Lambeau with the NFL Draft, getting ready for it. Now, there's always crazy surprises or what we think is, but one of the things that's very interesting, as we know, we talked about the Giants being there at number 3, which is an NFC East team. That would be interesting if they ended up getting Carter in that spot there, because Abdul Carter, an edge rusher against Philadelphia, you're having to see him a couple times a year. Abdul Carter there. Then you have New England, which out of nowhere has been very active. They have Vrabel now. They fire their coach. So after the first 3, does this thing kind of reset into chaos again with New England, or do you think this thing kind of steadies itself back up?
I think that it's going to kind of steady itself, at least with New England at 4. And what I mean is I think that they have to go offensive line. Like, they can't roll out that offensive line that they had last year. So they have to. I don't care if Campbell has shorter arms, then go get it. So go get Membu. If Membu isn't your guy, then go get the Banks from Texas. Whatever you got to do, right? But one of those 3 offensive linemen has to go number 4. I don't care. They're talking about maybe they'll take Genty because Mike Vrabel won with Derrick Henry. Well, what's he going to run behind me? Like, he needs a real offensive line in front of him, and that offensive line they had last year was terrible. Drake May is not going to stand a chance if they don't improve that thing. I know that they're going to, they can do something a little bit later on, but they've got to go and get the best tackle that they see fit. So I think that that's the inevitable. I think that they're going to definitely do that at number 4. And then at number 5, it gets interesting. Jacksonville, do they take Genty, where now it seems like all roads lead to him being a Jacksonville Jaguar as opposed to, or a team trading up to go get him. So, New England could be an interesting spot if a team gives them enough capital to trade out of that spot. But if they stick and pick, man, they got to go offensive line.
All right, let's have some fun. We'll throw some names out there. Get your thought, Q Myers. Your Raiders, let's just go to the Raiders because that's the team that you cover daily. Q also has the national show right here on 97.3 ESPN. And then he works hard and does the local show in Vegas. And the Raiders at number 6, they're attached to Genty, but they could be another wild card here because if the running back is not there and there's a quarterback there, I would imagine Sanders would be on the board here. You said earlier, I would love to see that happen. So how realistic did the Raiders do something out of the box? Or are the Raiders smart and take an offensive lineman and say, yo, before we, start to walk, we got to crawl a little bit here?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I feel like that they're going to make a move for the trenches. I don't feel like that they're going to get Genty at 6. One, he's probably going to be gone, but I just think that they're going to make that move for the trenches. If you go back and look at GM John Spytek, his history while he was in Tampa Bay with just Jason Light, they attacked the trenches. So, and one of their first picks together was Tristan Wirfs. So that worked out really well. So I think that they're going to probably have that same approach. I wouldn't be surprised if Armand Membu, a true right tackle, will be the pick at number 6 because the Raiders need a true right tackle. They have Colton Miller at the left side, but that right side's been a turnstile ever since Lincoln Kennedy retired, and that was many moons ago. So they need to go ahead and they need to shore that up. I think that they'll try to do that. And I think that they're going to try to establish a culture of just making smart picks. It ain't going to be the picks that the fan base gets excited and fired up about, but similar to what Howie Roseman does there in Philadelphia, attack the trenches.
That's what
they're
need,
going to do.
Right? That's what these teams need. You take a page from the Eagles and Roseman's playbook of the drafts for the Eagles are generally boring. They take linemen. They don't take skill guys. And then once they feel that the line is where they need to be, then they go get the other pieces of it. Everybody likes to take the short route, Q, man. They want to get the receivers and the running backs and the quarterback first before they give them a line to kind of build behind.
Exactly. And so I think that that's what they're going to try to do. Pete Carroll, you can go back and look at his history as well. He's really pretty smart with how he builds teams, and this is what this is when it comes to the Raiders, man. They need their team built. So John Spytek, Pete Carroll, they're in charge of being Bob the Builder and putting this thing together.
I do want to get a quick thought on a couple players. Here we go. Tyler Warren, what's your thought there? A tight end in the top 10? I remember the Jets, by the way, because I was buddies with Anthony Becht in college. He got drafted by the Jets in the first round. They took Kyle Brady one year, Anthony Becht. Generally, do you take the Jets go to another tight end in the first round? Could we see the Jets go tight end, Tyler Warren, top 10?
Yeah, I could see it because I was surprised they passed on one last year. I thought they were going to get Brock Bowers. They didn't. Obviously, the Raiders got him at 13, which was unbelievable. He was still on the board, and he had a phenomenal season. I think similar to the running backs, people are like, hey, man, you better go get that stud tight end. And this is a pretty good draft for tight ends as well. but he's obviously the best of the best when it comes to them. So I think that, yeah, I could see the Jets getting him at number 7 and being really happy with that kind of a player that you're adding to the mix. And you've already got Garrett Wilson there on the outside. You've got Breece Hall there in the backfield. I think you got a nice little nucleus. See what Justin Fields can do as the quarterback. But I think that would really help him out in a major way. So, yeah, definitely at number 7.
All right. Now, last night I was on your show picking for the Eagles. I took Walter Nolan. He's all over the board in mock drafts. Not sure, if he's a bona fide, hey, this guy's going in the top 10 or top 15. But I couldn't believe he was there at 32 last night. Well-respected panel of gentlemen that you're bringing on the show to make these picks. But for some reason, did everybody just bypass Walter Nolan for some reason and let Howie Roseman do what he does? So Walter Nolan is a guy that we're in this market keeping our eye on. What about you?
Yeah, I am too. I was really surprised that he was still available on the board. And wouldn't it be so Eagles-like, right? It doesn't matter where they're picking. They could be picking last in the first round, and all of a sudden they get some stud for the defensive line just to fall to them. Like, that would be so Eagle-like. But, yeah, I was actually shocked. There was a couple different people that, said, hey, I looked at Walter Nolan. I thought about him. I think the Chargers were one of them. Steelers, I want to say, were one of them as well. And, well, I'm going to go with this direction. I'm going to go in this direction. And it's just like they talked themselves out of it, which is weird. But I think that he's a really good player. I think that he's going to make an impact somewhere, and some team's going to get lucky. And I do think he's a first-round pick. I don't think he's going to last till round 2. He might not. I would be shocked, just like you were, if he'd be there at number 32. But that's why we do the exercise, because shocking things happen in the NFL draft.
What is the thought on Mike Green? A lot of people believe that he is the best edge rusher. He obviously has some off-the-field stuff, which he might be a top 10 pick, maybe even higher if the off-the-field stuff isn't found, which he basically volunteered, by the way.
Right, exactly. No, he's a dude that can get after it. He can get after the quarterback in a major way. I think that he's going to be an impactful dude. I'm trying to see who. Well, the Falcons took him on our draft. We had Atlanta taking him. So, he's an impact player, man. And the thing we know about the draft is that the people that are the focus are the quarterbacks and guys that can get to the quarterback and guys that protect the quarterback, right? So he's a guy that can get to the quarterback. He can get to the quarterback early and often. I think that he's a dude that you'll hear come off the board pretty soon. I would say, top 20 for sure. I don't think that he'd get past Denver at 20. And I don't think that they need him, but I don't think he makes it out of the top 20. That's a heck of a guy to get to the quarterback.
Yes. Q's best receiver is?
Matthew Golden. I like him the best out of all the wide receivers. A young man out of Texas.
Yeah.
He's got speed. Ran a 4.29. Teteroa McMillan is the one out of Arizona that everyone's talking about being the first wide receiver off the board. But if I had to place money on it right now, I would say that Matthew Golden's going to actually be the first wide receiver taken. He's fast. He gets the 50-50 ball. He's got a chip on his shoulder. I got to talk to him earlier today. He's got a little edge to him, and I like him a lot. So I think that he's going to end up being the one. I think he's going to surprise some folks and be the number one wide receiver taken.
All right, Q Myers is in the draft right now in Green Bay. I saw you get a chance to catch up with the commission. Anything big there?
Yeah, it's funny. We were walking around before this event started, and the commissioner came rolling in, and a guy that actually played for the Jets was a number 15 pick many moons ago, Johnny Mitchell. He does radio in Brazil.
Another tight end, Johnny
ESPN
Mitchell.
Brazil.
Another tight end.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So he was there. He's doing radio in Brazil, so he wanted to make sure he talked to the commissioner about that and seeing how they can connect. And, man, Raj was all about it. And so all of a sudden we started hanging out. We're talking to him. We're just chopping it up. And everyone's looking, thinking it's like some kind of media scrum, like we're doing some interviews. But we weren't. We were just chopping it up, talking with him. And finally when people started coming over, then we, broke it up. But it was just funny, man. We were just hanging out with old Raj. So we decided to take a picture with him, too.
Good stuff. By the way, Johnny Mitchell, Nebraska, tight end. The Jets love their tight ends out there, man. All right, Q Myers, everybody, at your boy Q254. Check him out, as always, on 97.3 ESPN. He's on right before the Sports Bash. Joe and Q, weekdays from noon to 2 on 97.3 ESPN. All right, buddy, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Have fun at that draft party.
I will do that, and you have fun at the draft. He is at Lambeau. I'll be at Ocean. You guys out there, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. The draft party is tomorrow. And by the way, Phillies in the 8th right now, 2 down, runner on second. and we'll get you up to date on that here on the Sports Bash. This hour of the show is brought to you by our friends at Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, your trusted source for heating and plumbing service for generation. Call 609-390-3907. All right, 3:31. Just had a play at the plate in New York. Max Kepler with a base hit. The throw to the plate. Castellanos slides. Ooh, that one's close. They're going to probably look at this. Did he get his hand in there? What do you got? What do you got? You're getting a better view than I am. I don't know. Are they going to they're going to challenge that?
I think he's out.
Looked like he's out, but he did look. If you look at his left,
he tried to slide his hand in under the glove. So like there's that thing. There's that moment where there is a question of did his hand get under the glove enough to hit the plate before the glove didn't hit the hand, it hit the body.
The throw was up the line.
Right.
So the catcher had to come from the first base foul side across to the third base side, and it was a bang-bang. Now, this is an interesting inning. You get Castellanos walked. He gets on base. He ends up going to second. They pinch hit Stott for Sosa. Stott ends up walking. So you have first and second with 2 outs. Now Kepler comes up. Now Kepler was in the game because he hit for Wilson earlier in the game.
Correct.
And Kepler actually comes through. He hits a bullet to right field, but the ball is hit so hard that the play at the plate, you would think Castellanos could score on that. 2 outs, you're going on the crack of the bat, but the ball's hit so hard that now there's a play at the plate, and Castellanos not the fastest guy in the world. Play at the plate, they call him out. I'm interested to see if the Phillies, because they went to commercial break, whether or not they're actually challenging that or they just okay and thinking, hey, no, they got him out here. We'll see when they come back. But it is now 2-2 in the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, I'll be curious to find out if when you slow down that replay, does the hand hit the plate before it hit the body? Because the last replay they showed, to me, Mike, it looked like that glove hit the body before the hand slid into the plate. Now, here's another replay here. So now this is where the catcher has to reach across.
See, the question is that angle's not good enough.
That's not a good angle. I can't see it.
Did his left hand, the back hand, the left hand, did it get there before the glove got to his?
See, that angle, it looks like he's safe. Here's another angle.
This is the one. Is the glove? Oh, that looks like the glove
I think
got
he's
him.
out there.
Yeah, I think he's out there.
That angle, he looks like he's out because the glove hits the shin before the hand hits the plate.
They're definitely looking at it over and over and over. I don't know that the Phillies see right there.
Yes, yeah.
I think
it looks like the glove hits the shin.
Yeah,
first.
I think the tag got there first. I do think the tag got there first. So looks like they did not challenge the call.
Well, if they didn't, that means they didn't lose their challenge then.
They still have that in the back pocket.
Here's a real super slow down. Look at this. So, yeah, see on that replay right there, the hand is like 2 inches away from the plate when the glove hits his leg.
Now, did this play – see, I think it's close enough in the 8th inning that you would challenge this.
I think you have to at least consider it.
Yeah, because, I mean, look, it's the 8th inning. You might not get another shot of a bang-bang play, and it was bang-bang close enough that we're going back and forth watching it. Now, to me, it looks like he was out.
Right.
But now here's the problem. Here's the problem with it. They called him out first. If they would have called him safe, they might not have had enough evidence to change the call.
That's true.
Yeah.
So now it's not, what was it, conclusive, right?
Yeah, but I don't know that Topper challenged it or not. We can't hear
didn't.
the audio in the studio.
Apparently, the delay in the game right now is Alvarado doesn't like how the mound is set up. So they
that's different. But I'm wondering, because it went to commercial break, did he try challenge it during the commercial break? We didn't see the umpire come out and say anything.
Right, the umpire didn't do any of the hand motions where he's saying safe out, putting on the headset, nothing like that.
But he could have done that during the commercial.
He could have during the break.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think the play was close enough in the 8th inning of the game that if you just took a chance and said, hey, let's just have them look at it again. Now, the Phillies wanted to challenge, but the umpire determined they took too long to call for the challenge.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I would say based on the replays that I saw, they showed on the television here, they would have gotten that challenge wrong.
Yeah, now, a lot of people are saying that call was going to be impossible to overturn. Now, listen, I don't know how the whole replay thing works, like in terms of who is in charge of watching the video.
There's a guy at
and
MLB.
then relaying to the team, hey, you should challenge this.
Oh, okay. So for the team, there is a guy watching the game.
Yeah.
And that's why they get on the phone. They call them and say, should we challenge this or not?
Right. So you're just kind of like, blindly out there waiting for someone to tell you that?
Basically, yeah. I mean, unless you have a guy who's like 100% convinced, then maybe he runs to the dugout and says, get on the phone, challenge this. But like you said, the Phillies took too long. So I guess Castellanos was not maybe like that emphatic about it. Maybe that's why they took too long to check and see if they wanted to challenge it or not.
Yeah, and listen, I think he's out anyway. I
Yeah.
mean, so fine, Topper should have challenged it. I mean, Topper challenge. It's the 8th inning. You go out there and challenge that.
Right.
I mean, to me, you just say, because that's the play of the game right there. It's the 8th inning. You don't know that you're getting another shot.
Correct.
Yeah. So in that situation, I would think that you just say, you know what, just challenge it.
Just
it's
challenge
close
it, but-
enough that maybe they see it differently.
Right. Maybe you get some guy who might get an angle that he likes and relays that to the umpire.
Yeah. I think, in that, and again, I don't know how this works, who's the one that watches it, because the manager obviously is not watching it.
No.
He's not sitting there watching the video saying, hey.
No, they get on the phone and they call somebody, and that guy usually tells them, go for it.
Right, exactly. But in that situation, 8th inning, I mean, close enough, he might not even – I would imagine you don't need to wait for someone to tell you. You just
You're
said,
saying that Topper doesn't even need the call. He should have just said challenge it anyway.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, is that a fireable offense? No. Is it a complete buffoon
Someone will
mess up?
complain about it.
Sure, of course. That's the manager's fault. He's got to go out there and okay, he should.
But then if he does challenge it and he gets it wrong,
right. You challenged a play that you got wrong. Listen,
Thompson's an idiot.
I would say in that instance, the manager should probably just say, you know what, it's the 8th inning, just challenge the play. It's close enough to challenge. Now, then what happens if he challenges it and then they say you lose the challenge and then there's a play in the 9th, he gets blasted for challenging a play that he shouldn't have challenged. Now, I don't know, again, I don't know the whole, like, who is the person that is – I usually see there's a coach in there that gets on the phone. There must be somebody upstairs.
Correct. There's every team has a person who's like the guy watching the replay upstairs.
Right. And then that person is on the phone with like the bench coach.
Correct.
And then the bench, because you usually see Topper turn around, or any manager turn around
and say,
yes
or no.
Are we challenging this or not? What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? And you can see like, hey, come on, let's go. At that point, you just say, time, we're challenging that. That's where the manager says, okay, I've waited too long. Now, is there a time frame? I don't know. Is there I think, is it 15 seconds?
I thought it was 30 seconds. Let me double check. But I thought the number was they have 30 seconds to challenge.
Yeah, see, now I'm watching this play. Again, I have the replay in front of me here. Man, it is a bang, bang play. I just don't think that they could overturn the call. So, yeah, that's a tough play, man. That is a great throw. I mean, it's not even a great throw. It's a throw that's up the line, and then, yeah, I think he's out. So, Phillies tied 2-2. The base hit from Kepler. So
really quick. So, according to the MLB rulebook, a manager must hold their hand up immediately after a play to signal that they are considering challenging the play. Then, once the manager has alerted the umpire about the challenge, the umpire will initialize a 15-second timer. Even if the 15 seconds expires and reaches 0, there will still be allotted a little bit of time for a total of 30 seconds after the hand is put up by the manager that you can officially challenge or not challenge a play. Any challenge request will be denied if the manager doesn't put up his hand in time for the umpire to receive said challenge.
Gotcha.
That's the MLB play rule book. So.
Yeah, and I don't know if they are hard and fast rules.
Right. According to this, it doesn't seem like it's a hard 15, 30 seconds here. It feels more like the umpire kind of like gives you a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
Like, because according to this, even when it says when the timer reaches 0, even then, according to this, it's about initiating the challenge.
And by the way, give credit. Soto made a great play on the ball. The ball's ripped right at him. He comes up and he comes up firing. It's not a great throw, by the way. It's a throw that's up the line, but because the ball got on him so quickly, Kevin and Brigantine, he's out. Soto made a good play, charging the ball, not letting it come to him. You're wasting your breath. I don't know what I said. I don't think he needed to challenge it. My point is, if you're indecisive and it's taking that long in the 8th inning of a game, then you just take the challenge. What's the difference?
Yeah, I think your larger point was that that's a situation where you don't mind if the manager challenges and just doesn't wait for like confirmation or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's the 8th inning, it's a play at the plate.
See, it's the differentiation between you shouldn't have done it because of this, and you're saying big picture in a moment like that, you would challenge because of.
Yeah, because now you can say, well, what if there's a play in the 9th? I don't know if I'm going to get that chance. This might be my only chance.
This might be your only shot.
These umpires, man, some of the things they do is bonkers. You're looking at something, how do you get that wrong? But that play to me, if they would have called him safe, it might have been too hard to change it. I don't think there was conclusive evidence.
Yeah, too really quick, because you mentioned about the umpires. Ruben Amaro Jr. had mentioned previously, we didn't get a chance to get this earlier in the week, he thinks that the ABS system in spring training forced the umpires to pay attention better, and that now that there's no ABS hanging over their shoulder, they're being a little bit, loose and fast with these strike zones and some of these calls because there's no one to challenge them. Do you buy into that theory?
Say that again?
Here, let me pull it up. So, Ruben Amaro, they did this watch party the other night where basically he was like live watching the game and they were streaming it. And this was his explanation for why umpires have not been good this year, basically. Take a listen.
My feeling is that during the course of the spring, I thought that the umpiring was really good. And I have a feeling that whether it's conscious or subconscious, that they were really bearing down pitch to pitch. I don't know that they're doing the same thing right now in the regular season games, because if a guy's challenging every pitch, that's going to be embarrassing for an umpire. And I think that's a big deal.
There's something to be said for that. I think, like the whole concept of the replay in football, you were hoping that the replay would help the officials get it right. What they're doing this year in football, I think, is going to help, is that you can make the call and now they can review the call.
Right.
And say, hey, that hit that you thought was a malicious hit, let's look at it again. I like that because there's so many times where I think they protect the quarterbacks, and if you take a look back at it, you're saying, that pick that was a little bit of egregious.
Right. That's something they do in college right now, where they let the instant replay people buzz down to them and be like, yeah, that's not a flagrant.
So
or
now
that is a flagrant.
So now you got a 2-2 game in the 9th. Diaz is on.
See, I love this because
so Alvarado, by the way, just real quick, Alvarado got out of that inning. Pretty quick.
He did pretty quick. I like Diaz coming in here because now the Phillies don't have to worry about him later in the game.
Well, and that's the thing. When you're the home team and it's a tie game, the closer throws, in the 9th, so he doesn't come in a closing situation now. That's the advantage where
Turner again with the bat on his shoulder, striking out, having a worthless at bat.
Turner is he is right now. I think right now, if I was to say the biggest, if I can undo one thing, it would be the Trey Turner deal.
Now, if you don't sign Trey Turner, are you keeping Stott at short and putting someone at second, or are you getting another shortstop?
Well, and I have Aiden Miller. I know that. So hindsight of knowing that I have Aiden Miller, but having the information that I have right now, obviously, I signed Turner for $300 million. I'm not getting the ROI on Trey Turner. If I can, like in hockey, where you have the amnesty, remember, did they still do that in hockey?
Yeah, you can amnesty a player's contract.
I would amnesty the Trey Turner contract if I could. Yes, I could play Stott at short for the rest of this year. Sosa can go play second, and then I have Aiden Miller waiting in the wings. But the Trey Turner contract has not worked out in almost any capacity. He has not won a game for you. There's not one memorable moment. There's not one thing that he's done that you were like, man, we won because Trey Turner was that good. No, he had that one stretch in August, September in 2023 that he was really, really good. But, yeah, if I could amnesty that deal, that would be the one.
I just.
By the way, Harper grounded out to short or maybe third.
He's grounded to the third baseman, yeah.
To end the inning.
I'm just wondering.
So we go to the bottom of the ninth.
I'm just wondering, if you don't spend that $300 million on Turner, how does that change what the Phillies have done ever since? Who? Do they spend money on somebody else? Do they make a big trade?
Some bullpen arms.
Bullpen arms, yeah. Or other bullpen arms. Is there maybe a guy that they would have gotten?
Let me tell you, I got something about this game that I want to bring to the table on the other side. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Something about this game that I will bring up on the other side. That's next. The Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 353 Sports Bash. So my thought on this game is this. The Phillies, if they lose this game, they are really going for this game. Right? You had Wheeler pitch. He gives up the 2-run homer, and then that's it. Now you've got Alvarado out there throwing 2 innings in a row, and he just gave up a base hit with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. So the Mets have kept it alive. But the Phillies are telling you how important this game is. They left Wheeler out there, and now they've got Strom and Alvarado pitching 2 innings here. He pitched the 8th and the 9th. So the Phillies are telling you how important this game is to them.
By the way, really quick, Stott is in at second, and Cal Stevenson is in center field.
And Kepler's now in left. They did not start the game. Stevenson came in and hit for Rojas. Kepler came in and hit for Wilson. Stott came in and hit for Sosa. So basically, the Phillies went with, what they normally do, which most teams would do, by the way. A right-handed pitcher was pitching. They went with left-handed hitters. So now they are very, very, very left-handed.
Incredibly left-handed.
As you get to the extra innings now, if you can get out of this. There's a runner on first. Now the Mets are doing the same thing. They have sent up a pinch hitter as well, a right-handed hitter to face Jose Alvarado, and we'll give you the updates on that when we come back, plus football at 4. On the other side, it's a Mosher Mailbag Wednesday. If you have an Eagles draft question, hit us up right now, 609-403-0973. Phil's 2-2 in the 9th. But I do think this is a game that the Phillies are really telling you this game means a lot to us. They're going for this game. And if they lose this game, it would be extremely disappointing in this spot. We'll have an update coming up next, plus football at 4. Mosher is here. Stick around. Sports Bash coming up. Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast is going to join us in just a moment here. By the way, Alvarado got out of the ninth. They had runners at first and second with 2 outs, and Lindor at the plate. So there was 2 outs and nobody on, and then it got a little hairy, and Alvarado got out of the inning, and that's where we are with the ghost runner now on second base, which is Harper, and now Kyle Schwarber is at the plate to lead things off. And by the way, the Mets are also going with their closer, Edwin Diaz, for the second straight inning. So both these teams, the Mets are saying, we want a 5-game lead on the Phillies, and the Phillies are saying, we want to cut this lead to 3 games.
I was going to say, how big is it that Diaz is staying in this game in this situation where the Mets are basically saying, we have a day off tomorrow. We're just going all in here.
And the Phillies don't have a day off. In fact, they have a very difficult series. They've got to go out to Chicago, and I believe that is an afternoon game tomorrow. I think that is a 2 o'clock game tomorrow. I think they play 3 straight afternoon games in Chicago. So this is not an easy trip for them. Where, by the way, Schwarber in this, what's that?
Phillies are off tomorrow.
Oh, the Phillies. Oh, they play. Tomorrow's Thursday.
So it's Friday at 2:20.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's
Saturday
Friday afternoon.
At
I knew
4,
that. Yeah.
Sunday Night Baseball.
So they do have the day off tomorrow. That's why Alvarado goes 2 today. So they have the opportunity to have him take tomorrow off. But then they do play afternoon 3 straight. Oh, Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah.
That game will be on 97.3 ESPN.
Yeah. I'm just seeing that right now. Sunday Night Baseball will be Aaron Nola versus Jameson Taillon.
Well, it's a tough spot for the Phillies because they go from here to Chicago. Now, having the day off tomorrow helps. I forgot tomorrow's Thursday. Why did I think tomorrow's Friday? I know we're doing the draft tomorrow.
You can't wait for the
Thursday.
draft. You're excited. The Eagles are picking tomorrow.
I am excited, but there is a little bit of sadness whenever the draft comes. Because now it is the start of now is that a base hit? Castellanos with the base hit.
Wow. How about
wow.
that?
How about that? Casty finally comes through. I've been very critical of Casty in the big spots. Oh, you got the infield drawn in because did you see what happened there?
Yeah.
Harper stole third base. That was kind of wrapped under the rug there a little bit.
So basically, Harper getting on third distracted the third baseman. So
because the runner went to third, they had to bring the infield in. So he got that by drawn in infield there. All right, Mosher's here. Let's get his thoughts. Final day before the draft tomorrow, and Jeff Mosher is with us now on the Sports Bash for another edition of Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash Live. All right, man, tomorrow it's finally here. I said it's bittersweet because it's kind of like the end of football for a little while. Right now, this is like the kicking off point to where football kind of goes into its hibernation for a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I think when the schedule comes out in a week or two, you'll get a little bit of an uptick, and everybody will do they're going to beat this team. We'll get all our kicks out of that, and then basically after that, yeah. That changed when OTAs became less relevant, less attended, negotiated down, and then less media access. So it's not like it used to be.
It's not what it used to be, but obviously the draft tomorrow night. So let's get into this. Last night, I was the picker for the Eagles on a mock draft show out in Vegas. Q Myers had me on as the Eagles picker. Now, he does this the whole month leading up to the draft. So everybody had made their picks, and I was the 32nd guest, and I was the Eagles picker last night. I sprinted to the podium when I saw that Walter Nolan was not picked yet by any team. So, Jeff Mosher, let's start with there. How possible is it, do you think, this goes the Eagles' way and that he would be their number one choice?
I would say not impossible, but not likely. I don't give percentages or anything, but I just think he's too talented of a player, top defensive tackle in the draft, and the character red flags aren't as bad as far as, he hasn't done anything illegal. It's not that bad. There's just some question marks about how some of the decisions he's made off the field. what he's done in his life. So he fits a lot of different schemes, and he's such a, you're looking for defensive tackles who a lot of teams are looking for defensive tackles that can rush the passer from the interior. They want their Milton Williams, they want their Fletcher Cox, they want their Jalen Carter who can do both, and he can do that. So I just don't think he's going to fall that far, Mike.
I don't know where you stand on Mike Green. His name has come up. He obviously has some off-the-field stuff, pretty major off-the-field stuff. This isn't, hey, I transferred 5 times, I'm late to practice. This has to do with some major off-the-field stuff. Would you think that he would be a guy the Eagles have done their homework on, or would they just take him right off their board?
Yeah, that's a tough one. The Eagles do value character. They'll take a little bit of a risk, they did with Jalen Carter, so long as they feel like the kid is a good kid and has learned from his lessons and have a good infrastructure. They no longer have Brandon Graham. They no longer have Jason Kelsey. They no longer have Fletcher Cox. So they've gotten pretty young overnight. Not to say that they don't have good leaders. Jalen Hurts is a great leader and Lane Johnson's a great leader, Mailata, but it's just not those 3 who've been around for a while. So they do value edge rusher, but I think because of what they look for in character early on in the draft, it would all depend on how they felt about Mike Green's situation. And if it was not what it's perceived to be, or if it is, I think that I have a tendency. I think this, if his off-field situation isn't as bad, if it's good enough for the Eagles to be satisfied, then it's probably going to be good enough for somebody picking higher than the Eagles. And he should go higher than 32.
I want to throw a couple names your way and just kind of feel you out on these possibilities. Mason Taylor, if he is there, is he someone they're interested in 32?
Yeah, 32 is high for Mason Taylor. He is seen as a top 50 pick for sure, top 60 pick. There could be a scenario, Mike, where you get to 32 and a lot of the guys you like and valued there are not there on the D-line or pass rush or O-line, although I doubt that'll be the case. And then you take him, or you try to move back and see if you can still take him, but you can't move back too much.
I'm trying to I'm looking through mock drafts that I saw all this week of players that were in mock drafts to Philadelphia. So these are the guys I'm kind of throwing your way. The other one, another one is Maxwell Harrison, who is a corner, and I would be surprised if they went that route at 32. Would you be?
No, not at all. Not at all, because that's a premier position. It's a position of value. And with Darius Slay gone, their battle right now at left cornerback is between a 4th-round pick in Keely Ringo and a 29-year-old journeyman free agent in Adoree Jackson. If you told me a guy like Maxwell Harrison is there at 32, who many, many teams I've spoken to have valued as a first-round pick, and we know that they want to keep Cooper DeJean in the slot, I think that would be absolutely a player that I could see them taking at 32. Maybe not ahead of some other guys we might mention, but if he's there, I could definitely see it.
Yeah, I want to get I think I talked to maybe Adam or Adam or Andrew about this. I'm not sure I asked you about it, but how much is Vic Fangio's scheme play into the guy they draft at 32, or period?
Yeah, no, I think period's a good question. Take safety for example. Nick Amenwori is going to be a first-round pick for sure, if not like top 40. This is a guy who is, Mike, he's not only yoked up and athletic as crazy, but, he's sort of like the Cam Chancellor. Remember Cam Chancellor from the Seahawks when they won? He's 6'3", 227. And the ability for him to run and test at that size is going to tantalize a lot of teams. But I've spoke to some teams who I know either used to, guys who used to work with Vic Fangio or have in the past or know his tendencies. And what Vic has typically looked for in a safety, Mike, is the kind of safety who can also play nickel, like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, right? The smaller guy, the smaller, more rangy guy who can be a hybrid nickel/safety, not necessarily the safety who's a /hybrid linebacker, like Amenwori could be. So when I think of safeties that fit Vic Fangio's scheme based on what he's had in the past. Guys like Eddie Jackson or C.D. Gardner-Johnson or Dante Hittner, they've all been like 5'11", 6 foot, 200, 202, right? So that's more like Andrew Makuba from Texas or Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. I'm not sure Nick Amamori is a guy who would really be the apple of their eye, even though he's a great player and tests great and everything. He just might not be the right fit.
All right, a couple other ones here. Let's get some mailbag questions for Jeff Mosher. We'll try to hit on some of those. Got some other things we want to get onto as well. These were from what were supposed to be for you on Monday, but you were not on Monday's show. These are the Mosher mailbag questions from Monday. Do the Eagles stay put at 32, or does Howie Roseman try to move up into the 20s for, quote-unquote, this guy?
Well, this guy would be Walter Nolan, right, that we just talked about for all the reasons why you want to move up. I could see it happening, but I have a feeling, like I said, I don't think Walter's going to fall that far. So in order to move up to get him, then you got to talk about giving up maybe like a 2, a 3, something like that to really move up, because it's not moving up 32 to 27. It might be moving up 32 to like 19, 20, 21.
Okay, so in your mind, how much does having the 20 picks over the 2 years this is an interesting conversation of they have 20 picks over the 2 years.
Yeah.
Trading back means you're adding more picks. I mean,
Yeah.
So does that almost not make sense? Like, hey, we have 20 picks. What are we going to do with all these picks? Hey, we'll trade out of the first round and get more picks. Or to say, hey, we have 20 picks. Let's use some of those picks to go get the guy we really want. Which makes more sense?
Yeah, I would think that the opportunity to move up or move up in multiple rounds, multiple times because of what they have. You're right. They've got so many picks, 20 picks. You can't add 20 new players over the course of 2 years. You only have a 53-man roster. That's like almost, 40. I don't know. I'm bad at math, but that's a lot. That's like almost 40, not maybe over 40, but less than 50% of your roster. You're not going to have in draft picks over the next 2 years. So yes, it gives you the opportunity to package picks and a player. Maybe that happens over the 3-day event or right after. So we'll see. It definitely gives Howie ammunition.
Yeah, one of the questions here, this one's from Ron in Sea Isle, says, would it be smarter for the Eagles to trade out of 32 for more day 2 picks, given how deep this draft is? My twist to that would be, what about future picks? You have 20 this year, but this could be a year where the Eagles say, hey, we'll take instead of a third this year or next year, we'll take a second in 2026 or 7.
Well, I don't know if the Eagles want too many future picks. I think the Eagles wouldn't mind giving up a future pick because they know they're going to get a bunch of comp picks next year.
No, I'm not talking about next year's draft. I'm talking about like 2027, even maybe 2028.
Possibly. It's unconventional, but it could happen. I don't remember too many trades like that, but we'll see.
Yeah. Jeff Mosher, football at 4 here. All right, let's get this one here. This one's from Steve in Wildwood. Is a rotational edge rusher or defensive tackle enough value, or do you wait until the second round to get your defensive line help?
Well, is defensive tackle value? I mean, that's one of the positions the Eagles value the most, isn't it?
I would think so. I think at 32.
Is he saying, okay, so this question is assuming that at 32 you're taking a rotational edge rusher and not a starting edge rusher, I guess?
Yeah, there you go. Or is a rotational edge rusher or defensive tackle at 32 enough value, or should they wait until the second round for defensive lineout? So, yeah, he's basically saying if the guy's not an every down player, do you take a guy in the first round who's a rotational guy?
Well, I wouldn't take somebody in the first round if I didn't see them as a eventual 3-down lineman. They don't have to be right away. But, I mean, first round, you're talking about a guy who's going to battle against Moro Ajomo, who has never been a 3-down defensive tackle in the NFL. So you have to give the benefit of the doubt, whoever you're going to take in the first round, that guy has a top 50 grade on him, and he's going to go in there and win that job right away.
All right, here you go. I know. I think I might know your answer here, but would you be surprised if the Eagles use pick 32 on a safety, despite rarely drafting that position?
Yeah, I would be. I just don't think – I think with the depth that there is at D-tackle, at edge rusher, offensive line, I don't think the Eagles are going to deviate here, Mike. I think they're going to eat their vegetables like they always do, which is don't do the sexy thing. Go interior defensive line, go offensive line, edge rusher, although edge rusher is kind of like sexy for some people. But safety to me is a guy that you're taking in the second or the third round. And you might maneuver up, if you want that Xavier Watts, if you want Makuba, then you maybe have to move up from that 64, but they have so much ammunition they can do that.
All right, so Jordan Schultz reporting a little while ago the Eagles are declining the fifth-year option on Dotson, which answers goes into this question. Could the Eagles target a wide receiver 3 at 32?
Target, meaning like could they look to get one? No. But if Luther Burden or Tet McMillan is sitting there at 32 because for whatever reason those guys weren't valued and slid, then it's kind of hard to say no to someone you might already have a first-round grade on when you're sitting at 32.
Yeah, so, the fifth-year option thing for Dotson, that's not a surprise, as you kind of indicated there. But was it say, hey, I was on with McMullen this morning. He said he wouldn't be shocked if they tried to trade Dotson.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind of value Jahan Dotson has.
Not much, probably, but just, hey.
Catches last year, right? I mean, what are we talking about?
Well, you gave up a third to get him?
A 3.
Yeah, so if you're trying to just say, hey, and that's why this question, could you target a wide receiver 3? Do you want a first-round player as your third option? That I don't see. But you're saying is there a player that you think they would like enough to say, yeah, we'll do that?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a player that they see as a starting wide receiver in this league, they're at 32, and he's higher graded than the edge rushers that are left or the offensive. I mean, what would push down those wide receivers, right? It would be a run on those defensive ends and interior defensive linemen, maybe offensive linemen. So if that's there, then sure, best player available.
I like this pick here from this is Connor in Absecon. Which position would make the Eagles most likely to trade up from 32? Corner, offensive tackle, or wide receiver? I would imagine defensive line would need to be on this list too.
Yeah. So let's put it. It would be it would be defensive tackle or edge first. Offensive tackle potentially. Corner. I don't know. I think there's going to be some pretty good corners in the top 50, unless there's one guy that, again, like Will Johnson, if they love Will Johnson and for whatever reason he's there at 27 and you only have to move up a little bit to get him, maybe they do that. But I really think that if they're going up, it's for a Walter Nolan or a real very, very good offensive tackle who can be Lane Johnson's successor, but also play right guard right away if they need to.
This is a good question. Scott in Middle Township, could the Eagles package 32 with a day 2 pick to land an immediate impact veteran that they've done in the past?
Absolutely. Now,
is that something we're not talking about enough?
Probably because you don't hear about the guys who are available until they become available. Like, who knew A.J. Brown was going to get traded to the Eagles until A.J. Brown got traded to the Eagles, right? Who knew DeAndre Swift was going to become available until the day the Lions took Jahmyr Gibbs? So you don't know who's available. You can kind of look around for guys who are 3 years into a 5-year rookie deal and haven't been extended yet at safety, at corner. There aren't that many positions I think they would do it to. I think just maybe either safety or corner they would do that for. Or maybe an edge rusher who's just, for whatever reason, available.
All right, Phil and Brigantine. Jeff, can the Eagles trade compensatory picks from next year not knowing exactly what their draft positions would be?
I do not believe they can do that until they actually know what the comp pick is. What they can do is trade their own draft picks in certain rounds, knowing or at least being confident that they're going to get comp picks in that round to make up and compensate for it.
Yeah, I would imagine he would not be able to trade those future picks.
Yeah, a long time ago, you could not trade comp picks even when you were awarded them. Now you can trade comp picks after you're awarded them, but I do not think you can trade them before you are awarded them.
All right, Jeff Mosher, draft tomorrow night, right? Finally, it's here.
About time.
The Eagles make their pick tomorrow night or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're either going to pick at 32 or trade up.
Okay. Well, we'll be following it all. Now, what's tomorrow? Are you on tomorrow, or I'm all confused?
I believe I am. I believe I am.
Perfect. All right. Well, I like that. We'll have you on tomorrow. We'll do some more mailbag stuff tomorrow. So send them in now for Jeff tomorrow. We have more left over, but I'm going to keep them for tomorrow because there's some good stuff. And tomorrow we'll really bring some interesting stuff because it will be draft day. We will be live. We'll be at the Ocean Gallery Bar booking games. And you guys have anything happening tomorrow for our listeners that want to follow you guys tomorrow night?
We will have a pre-draft show up on the platform, both the YouTube and the podcast platform early. And then because the Eagles will probably pick late, what we decided is we always get Greg Cosell on with us. We're going to have him on Friday morning recap the pick that they make Thursday night. So up Friday morning pretty early will be the Greg Cosell assessment and analysis and tape evaluation of the player that the Eagles pick. Hopefully they pick somebody.
Well, check out the Inside the Birds platform for all of their draft coverage. And, of course, tomorrow's Football at 4. Jeff Mosher is back, and he'll answer more of your mailbag questions tomorrow. Thanks, man.
All right, go Phils.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
It's tied up now, isn't
tied
it?
up, yeah.
Jeez.
Pete Alonso. Jordan Romano in the game right now. And Pete Alonso doubled to tie the game up at 3-3. And now you're in a pickle because there's 2 on with 1 out in the 10th.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, go Phillies anyway. We'll see what happens.
All right, man. See you. Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, here on the Sports Bash Live. We'll keep it here for a second because this could be the death knell right here. Romano was in the game. The ghost runner went to third. Alonso doubled and drove him in. Now it's first and second with 1 out here in the 10th, and they are at Vientos, who has killed you. I mean, he's been just a Philly killer. You need a ground ball here in the worst way. See what happens. That's inside. No. So, man, Romano is in a tough spot here, and this is the problem. I mean, you go into a game, it's 2-2. You can't score any more runs. Now you score 1 in the 10th, but you've now already used Strom. You used Alvarado for 2 innings.
Right. The big thing is you use Alvarado for 2 innings. So you didn't just bring in Alvarado, just to get him in and out. You were like, hey, Jose, I need you to get us through. And then you hand the ball to Romano being like, hey, man, I know you had a bad Saturday. I need you to show up today. And so far, he hasn't shown up.
Not so far.
He can still salvage this.
Well, if he gets a ground ball, you need a ground ball. Oh, that's a fastball right there. He just blew that one by Vientos. 97 down the heart of the plate. Big pitch by Romano there.
That's a gutsy pitch.
That one had some extra mustard on it.
That was a hit this.
That was I'm better than you. That is where, you just say, hey, I'm better than you, and I'm going to show you. And he just literally reared back and threw that thing.
See, that's a
right
moment where I hope that might be the confidence that this guy needs. Like if he can get out of this inning, is that a pitch, Mike, and an at-bat where Romano can now carry that confidence through the next couple of months to get himself back on track?
Maybe. We'll see.
This,
There's been a couple of moments. I thought he had a good game. 2 weeks ago, he came in. He looked a lot better, and that has not carried over.
Oh, no. Here we go. Dribbler into the outfield, play at the plate.
Play at the plate. The Mets have won the game 4-3 on a base hit up the middle.
It was out of the reach of Stott at second base. He couldn't get to the ball. It bloops into the outfield, and Cal Stevenson was there, but it was too late.
Yeah, Stevenson's throw comes late. The Mets have swept the series. Jordan Romano saddled with the loss. And the Phillies, who take the lead 3-2 in the 10th, they can't get any more, and they lose 4-3. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. We're breaking it down. We got the Nuggets coming up and more here on the Sports Bash Live on your home for the 2025 NFL Draft. Every pick is on 97.3 ESPN. 432, a come-from-behind win for the Metropolitans. They win 4-3 today. Extra innings, they get 2 in the 10th to beat the Phils. Jordan Romano takes the loss, and the Phils lose 4-3. They are swept by the Mets. Jordan Romano gets the loss. And, a lot of people up in arms what's happening with this Phillies team right now. Nick Earnshaw's back. He did not feel well yesterday. You feel worse after watching what we just saw there from the Phillies. They get swept by the Mets, who are playing some really good baseball right now. And the Phillies just aren't playing good baseball. It's April 23rd, so obviously it's very early in the season, but it's kind of a microcosm of the Phillies and Mets. The Mets just keep getting the better of the Phils and getting that feeling where, hey, we just can't find ways to beat this team. But Phils lose 4-3 today. Nick's Nuggets are here, and they are brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. I hope you're feeling better, Nick, but that game right there probably got you sick.
Yeah, I think I'm feeling a little worse today just after watching that. I mean, clearly that was just an atrocity to watch at the end there with Romano. I mean, it's just to be swept by the Mets. I mean, the Mets now own the Phillies. They own the Phillies based upon last year. Now you have this year. You're already starting off getting swept. It's like nothing has changed. Nothing's changed, Mike, from last year to the way they ended the season to this year. I feel a little bit more sick after watching that display today. So Phillies lose it in extras in 10 innings today. You thought, hey, Casty with a big base hit to give them the lead at the end. You're like, all right, let's go into it. You give Romano a shot, and he blows it. There's a lot of problems with this team right now, Mike.
A lot of problems. A lot of it's offensive, though, right? It's a lot of offensive problems. The team that just continues to leave runners on base. A team that strikes out way too much. Although today, you take a look at the Phillies, the strikeouts only seven. But, they left how many runners on base in this series? They left 12 on today. They had to leave over 20 in the series. And just, again, it's very frustrating to watch this offense because it's the same stuff that you've seen year after year after year, and they're counting on the same guys to do something different, and that kind of sounds like insanity.
Yeah, it's crazy, and that's where I want to start, Mike. I want to start with the poll you put out on X, I believe it was last night, and the question was, what bothers you most right now about this Phillies team? It's got an interesting little twist to it. Lack of offense, which is leading it right now. Bullpen, 32%, which is second. Lack of offense is 41%. Rob Thompson, 10%. And Dave Dombrowski at 17%. Mike, I think this is the easiest question of all time. No doubt about it. It's Dave Dombrowski. He's the one who bothers me the most. Not just Rob Thompson, the bullpen, the lack of offense. It starts at the top. It starts with Dave Dombrowski. And you just saw it again today. They refused to go out and re-sign Jeff Hoffman. I know there was the injury concern, but he doesn't look that hurt to me this season so far. I know there was the big thing in the offseason with he might be hurt, all that. He was going to go to the Orioles, the whole thing there. You didn't bring back Carlos Estevez. He's having a really good season this year as well. You go out and you pivot to Jordan Romano. In his press conference, he spoke to the media today, and he said that they were in on Hoffman early, but then they pivoted to Romano. So there's that, Mike Gill. The bullpen does not look great right now, even though Alvarado gave you 2 great innings today. Fantastic, but they could have made other moves. And remember, you traded away a couple of pieces last year too in Sir Anthony Dominguez. So you lost a ton of bullpen pieces and did not replenish them with guys who can help you. Romano was hurt last year, okay? He's coming off of an injury. He's had a great track record in the past, but coming off that injury, not so great. You don't know what you're going to get. And I know it's volatile with relievers, but you should give yourself the best shot by signing those guys. Also, center field, left field, Max Kepler, not enough. Center field, you have the Rojas Marsh thing. Rojas we'll get to in a little bit. But overall, they're doing the same thing over again and thinking there's going to be a different result, Mike Gill. So I would go Dombrowski to answer your poll question you put out last night.
Yeah, poll questions up at Mike Gill Show. You can continue to vote throughout the show. I wanted to give people more time because I figured today, with the way this game went, that might add to the list here. What bothers you the most right now? 41% say the lack of offense. And to me, I think the lack of offense goes to the top of the list because that's where your money is spent. That's where you've put most of your resources in. $300 million to Turner, $300 million to Harper, $100 million to Castellanos, $20+ million a year. I think he got like $78 million to Schwarber, $23 million a year to JT Realmuto. You are not getting the offense for what you're paying those guys. Now, your bullpen, you don't spend a lot of money on your bullpen, and you're getting that result. You have a bunch of, I said, rent-a-arms. You're vagabonding guys trying to piecemeal a bullpen together. So those guys, they're not disappointing. They're what you expected. You didn't put anything into the bullpen. What did you think you were going to get out of the bullpen? So the offense, to me, is a bigger problem than the bullpen, even though the bullpen has to be fixed. So when I ask the question, what bothers you the most, it's the fact that I'm paying my offense and they aren't getting the job done.
Okay, so you would go lack of offense. See, I think it stems from the top. All of it falls under Dombrowski. That's what irks me. They could have done more, and they didn't do more. They were in on Hoffman. They didn't bring Hoffman back. He admitted it today. They admitted they were in on Hoffman today and then got out. So I'm just.
Well, I wonder what happened with Hoffman because two different teams passed on him with his physical.
Well, it was the injury thing and his physical.
With his physical. So why did those teams pass on him, and did the Phillies also pass on him for that reason?
Listen, I guess the Blue Jays knew something that everyone else didn't know, apparently, because he's pitching fantastic. The injury doesn't seem to be bothering him too much. Maybe later on in the year it could, right? Like, he could start off hot, have a great first half, maybe be an all-star in the AL, and then fall off in the second half. That could happen with the Phillies too, but it just doesn't feel like that they're really going to just turn it around all of a sudden. It feels like they're going to have to do something drastic to get this team to turn around a little more. I know it's April 23rd, but nothing's changed from last October and September. This is essentially the same team. There's nothing different. Nothing has changed. The bats are still boom or bust.
That's why when I say
not changed.
When I say what bothers you the most, and the answers are Dombrowski, Topper, bullpen, lack of offense. Lack of offense is winning, and I think the lack of offense is what bothers you the most because Dombrowski, made these moves. Nobody complained about Trey Turner. No one complained about Schwarber. No one complained about Castellanos. No one complained about BCIB, Realmuto. They paid those guys, and nobody had a problem with them. So Dombrowski invested in this offense, and nobody said, Dombrowski, what are you doing? Why are you signing these guys? No. People thought that these were good moves. And guess what? That core group of guys got you to a World Series. They won more games the next year, and then they won more games last year than they did 3 years ago. So the team has consistently won more and more and more games. Now, they didn't go as far in the playoffs, which is all anybody cares about. But he put together a team that consistently has gotten and improved in the regular season, which obviously no one cares about. We only care about postseason success. But he did invest into the offense. That's why it bothers you, is because the investment that he put out there was an investment that most of us all said, I like these moves.
I agree with you. There. Looking at the macro, yes, I'm with you there. However, around the edges, the guys you need to fill out a roster, right? Those guys you need to put in center field, put in left field that aren't the superstars, that aren't making $100 million. He has missed on those players and signing those players and has not traded for them. And you remember this window, these guys are hitting into their 30s now. You need to find a way to extend that window, right? I don't think he's done a great job extending it. What did they do this offseason to help extend this window? I know you paid for the core, but what did they do to help themselves this year and going forward? That's great.
Well, listen,
past.
to be fair, they won 95 games last year with this lineup. So do you look at yourself and say we won 95 games? Oh, I think we stink?
No, that's not the point. You need to put players around you, around the edges, around those guys, complementary pieces to put around the Harpers, the Turner. Oh, Turner's not showing up, by the way. He's been very disappointing. So that's frustrating. So I can understand why people are going lack of offense. He's part of it. But remember, these guys are getting older. You also have to look towards the future. Is Justin Crawford ready? When are you bringing up Aiden Miller? They are very high on those guys. So when is that going to happen? You have to do a better job. I think they could have done a better job, during this offseason.
Well, here's a question.
To put complementary pieces around.
That's easy to say. Where were they doing this? The one spot you could say is fine. They brought in Max Kepler. That move made no sense. You brought another left-handed guy here. What did you think you were getting from Max Kepler? Fine. Where else? Center field. Okay, fine. Center field. Well, we're talking about the offense. We're talking about the disappointing thing.
I'm talking about everything. Everything they could have added. They could have added another better bull. They could have brought back Hoffman. They could have brought back Estevez.
I thought you were talking about the fact that the voters are saying the lack of offense bothers you the most right now.
Well, I don't hate that. I just think it stems from Dombrowski in the offseason.
The bullpen thing, I think he completely overlooked and neglected.
Yes.
I think they basically thought, one, Kerkering would take a step forward, and he would be a much bigger piece of this bullpen. Other than that, Alvarado was shaky last year. You're lucky that he's been the guy he is right now. Matt Strahm made the All-Star game last year. The fact that he hasn't regressed and that he has stayed at that level, you're lucky that he hasn't taken a step back after how much you had to use him. These bullpen arms are up and down. You're lucky that Strahm hasn't regressed to the mean a little bit here. Going with Jordan Romano, and by the way, fine. You want to tell me Romano to replace Hoffman? Okay, bad move. I wouldn't have done that route, but fine. Then who replaces Estevez? You never replaced Sir Anthony Dominguez. He hasn't given up a run all year in Baltimore. His ERA is 0.00 right now. And by the way, the guy you traded Dominguez to get, Austin Hayes, he's hitting .390 with 3 homers. And oh, by the way, he's hitting in the number 4 hole in the Reds lineup right now.
God, that move will aggravate me to no end until the day I die. I swear. I mean, that move just is so aggravating to me, the Austin Hayes trade. It just did not work out whatsoever for the Phillies. It seems like, in hindsight, they got fleeced with the way everything's panned out. And now Austin Hayes is hitting pretty well. Dominguez won't give up a run. And the Phillies have problems in the bullpen. And they have problems offensively and still don't have a right-handed bat. I mean, you can't make it up, Mike.
Now, that said, I don't think Austin Hayes is the answer to all your problems. But guess what? I would much rather have said I'd take Austin Hayes back for what he got paid, $5 million on a one-year deal, and I would have played him in left field over Max Kepler.
Yeah, I would have preferred – coming from me, I probably would have preferred Hayes just to give him another shot. I mean, he got hurt last year, and it just was a total disaster. So maybe give him another shot on a cheap deal. Instead, you go get another lefty, and he's been I mean, that move. I think everyone collectively knew that move was a little odd when they signed him.
Just made no sense. And listen, again, I don't think Austin Hayes is the answer to all your problems. But you have a right-handed bat who is hitting in the middle of that lineup. Now, I don't think he's hitting number 4 if he's here, and that's been one of your problems. Today, Castellanos, and by the way, Castellanos had the RBI to give him the lead in the 9th inning, which, by the way, gets an assist from Harper, who stole third base to bring the infield in, and then he hits the ball past the third baseman. So Castellanos gets the RBI, but because you're not hitting Austin Hayes in the 4 hole here. That's the thing. You're not batting him for it. Now in Cincinnati, he's hitting in the 4 hole, and he's mashing for that team right now. And he had a good spring, by the way. And
this goes back to my whole hypothesis on the Harper move to first base really destroyed the roster construction and the construction of the lineup of this team. It's opened up too many holes for them. And as good as Bryce has been at first base, it created other problems for the lineup and the offense. It hurt his protection with no Hoskins there, et cetera, and I will stand on that hill. All right, we got to move along. Mike Gill, nugget number 2. A little bright spot for you, okay? He also had an RBI today. It's been Johan Rojas. I mean, we've been clamoring and talking about center field so much this year. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the first nugget. Nugget number 2, Johan Rojas getting every day at bats needs to continue to happen. His last 5 games, he's heading into today, batting .389. Has had a double, 7 hits, 3 RBIs. He's been really good as of late, Mike. I mean, that could be a little bit of a surprise here. If you have Johan Rojas able to get every day at bats and he can figure out center field, that'd be wonderful because we know what he can do with the glove. It's always been about the bat and getting the bunt down. He has not been good enough. Has not been good enough whatsoever. And if he can figure it out, hit breaking pitches, etc., Mike, this will be huge because like we just talked about, Marsh is hurt. Marsh is giving you nothing. You have had problems in left and center field. If Johan Rojas can finally be that bright spot again, like he was when he first came up, was hitting the baseball very well, over 300, that'll be huge for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Well, listen, I've said before, I think that Rojas gives you more chances, more ways to win than Marsh does. He had an RBI last night in the game. He's the only guy that had the hit. Today, he had the first RBI in the game today. Now, listen, he struggles. He's not again, I laugh. I said he's not Tony Gwynn. He's not going to hit 340. He's overmatched at times, but he's hitting in the 9-hole. And his speed and his defense, I would just keep playing him. But like I said,
what do you do with Marsh, though, when he comes back? Do you sit him?
Quite frankly, and I don't see the Phillies doing this. Like, for instance, today, you see what they did late in the game. Stott hit for Sosa, Kepler hit for Wilson, and Stevenson hit for Rojas. That's just what these teams do. These are platoon players. In their mind, Sosa is a part-time player. Wilson is a part-time player, and they still look at Rojas as a part-time player. So when they come up late in a game, and the team has a left-handed pitcher, and they have a right-handed pitcher come in the game, they are going to do what most teams do. The Mets did it today, by the way. Jesse Winker, he was the DH. They hit Marte for him. Winker has been killing the Phillies. Marte's hitting 180, and the Mets went to a 180 hitter to hit for Winker. Why? Because he faced a left-handed pitcher, and Winker is left-handed. Every team is going to do this with their part-time players. This isn't new. This isn't like some crazy outside-the-box thing that only the Phillies do. All of these teams look at guys, and they are specialists in the games we play in Major League Baseball. You have your star players, and they play every day. And if you're not one of those star players, you are basically a part-time platoon level player. And the Phillies, I would not have hit Cal Stevenson for Rojas. I mean, to me, Stevenson just does not have enough of a track record. But that's the Phillies' organizational philosophy is if there's a right-handed pitcher, go with the left-handed batter. Why? Because the analytics say that the left-handed hitter has a better shot to get a hit than the right-handed guy does. So even though in my mind Cal Stevenson is a nothing burger, I'm not using him in that spot. But that's what the Phillies want. Same with, I don't need to see Max Kepler. Now, Max Kepler came up, by the way, and got a hit for Weston Wilson.
He did.
And Castellanos got thrown out at the plate. Well, Castellanos got thrown out at the plate. Yeah, but Kepler did get a base hit. So here they make that move. Let's hit for Wilson, who's a right-handed batter against a right-handed pitcher. Let's put a lefty up there. And it works out for them. Kepler, the left-hander, got a hit against a right-handed pitcher, and Castellanos ends up getting thrown out at the plate. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it will always happen because the organizational philosophy for most of these teams is we want a lefty against a right-handed pitcher, and we want a right-handed batter against a left-handed pitcher.
That's how it goes. That's modern-day Major League Baseball. Mike Gill, I'll leave you with this. Final nugget. If a 215 number comes up and you're trying to make a trade with another team, are you picking up the phone?
I'm hanging up.
That's my last nugget that I'll leave you with.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow on the Nuggets right here on the Sports Bash. All right, coming up, 5 o'clock hour, Ryer side. We got a lot of things we're going to get into. Draft, Phillies lose again. Romano gets the loss. All that and more coming up next. This is the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. Subscribe and like right now. We'll be back with more Sports Bash. 5 o'clock, driving you home on a Wednesday. One day to the draft. Phillies lose. Sports Bash Live. 97.3 ESPN. Phil's lose in interesting fashion. They took the lead in the 10th and then blew the game in the bottom of the 10th. It was Jordan Romano who gets the loss. 40 Kid is watching on YouTube, says, good God, Romano stinks. I'd rather have you pitch, Mike Gill. 40, my pitching days are done in college, man. I couldn't help out this team right now. I can't even throw batting practice to my team anymore. My arm is shot, 40. I think Romano still has a little bit on me, but if in my day, I might have been able to give him a run for his money. I think if my arm was still had a little juice in it, 40. Let's Jonathan Harvey's watching on YouTube. Enter Romano and the Phillies exit Mets Stadium a loser. Yeah, Romano is having a rough go at it right now. But, hey, listen, you had a 3-2 lead, and this offense just couldn't get any more runs. So the 3-2, to me, you look at it and say, where are the runs in this series? Too many men left on base. Yet again, more problems there. Let's go to Ryer side. Ryan Rothstein's back for this segment, as always, here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. What's up, man?
Unbelievable. This team, I tell you what, I'm going to lose my hair over this team. Now, thankfully, I'm already bald, but my goodness, dude, this team's a mess, man. This team's a mess.
Listen, are they a mess or are they just, frustrating right now?
Yeah, frustrating. Yeah, tomato. I don't know, dude.
I get it. Like, they just lost an extra inning game against a good Mets team. They lost the one night. They lost 5-4. And then last night 5-1. All the games, very lifeless offense. The 5-4 game, you get a 3-run homer in the ninth. The offense has been a big problem. The bullpen's a big problem. But over 162, does this stuff kind of even out? Or are we looking at a bigger problem, a bigger issue? So many times we've had these conversations over the year. The offense isn't very good. They strike out too much. They leave too many guys on base. Yeah. They won 95 games. They strike out too much. They leave too many guys on base. Well, they were in the National League Championship Series. They strike out too much. They leave too many guys on base. Well, they were in the World Series. So is it just like, hey, everybody goes through ups and downs of the season? Or is this a bigger picture for this particular team, this particular year? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, that's what we're all trying to figure out, right? It feels like... Now, let's start with this. Let me get your thoughts on this statement I'm about to throw at the wall. Let's see if it sticks. In baseball, in Major League Baseball, it feels like when teams start to press, that never translates to a World Series championship. Right? Like, it's always when the team's unexpected, they get hot at the right time. But when teams start to press, and it feels like the Phillies this year, with all this pressure and expectation, they decide to run it back. It feels like they are pressing, and it doesn't. In baseball, when you press, it doesn't translate. Baseball's a lot like golf. You have to be loosey goosey, man. You have to be barely gripping that bad boy, that golf club, that baseball bat. As soon as you start tightening things up and you're white knuckling things, as well as anyone, it doesn't typically go very well.
Yeah, and I think it's something that you look at this team and you're wondering, man, this team has been here 2022, 2023, 2024. You would think they're relaxed and fun. They know this team. They know this fan base. They know each other. And yet I guess the pressure of not being able to get it done is, still kind of looms over them that, hey, we failed. Even though in 2022 they kind of came out of nowhere, went to a World Series. They won more games the next year, but got knocked out of the playoffs earlier, then won more games last year and got knocked out even earlier. So it's almost like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. We won more regular season games, but we got knocked out earlier. We won less regular season games, so people complained even more, but we went further.
Right, but do you think that's fair, that if they are pressing, as it seems like they are, that it's not going to translate, right? Like, if your baseball team's pressing, how do you change that? Right? Like, how do you reverse course on that? It seems like it's an impossible type of task.
I just, I wonder if Dombrowski's watching this team and seeing what we're seeing and having these conversations of, you know what, man, I tried this team. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. I wanted to keep them all together. We like these guys. This is our core. These are our guys. They've had a lot of great times. I want to give them one more shot. but it's just not working out. And this is how we kind of opened the show today, was the way they lost that game last night. Now the way they lost this game today, you know, the problem you have is in all sports, you can't trade the players. I mean, you can't trade everybody. So is there one guy you can trade that changes something? I don't know. I mean, is there one guy on this team that you could say, you got to trade that guy and that will be the thing? Or do you do what most sports teams do? Do you just say, hey, we need to shake something up with this lineup, and somebody goes? Is it the hitting coach? Is it the manager? Is it whoever? I don't know. I think the manager is way low on this list of the issues. They are devoid of depth and talent at key spots, bullpen, middle of the order. And then your low end of the order guys got off to bad starts. Marsh, Bohm, those are guys who really, last year, Rye, in 2024, Bohm and Marsh combined for almost 50 RBIs in April. Right now they have 11 total. That's a huge gap in production from one year to the next.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's a great point. The Phillies bullpen. My iPad's loading now, but I just saw this stat. The Phillies bullpen in the last two series against the Mets, this past series where they got this completely swept, and in the NLDS, the bullpen gave up 23 runs in 24 innings. Like, the Mets are just owning the Phillies right now, particularly the Phillies bullpen. It feels like that. Not it feels like. It's clear as day that the Mets have this Phillies team number, and that's a concern, and it's annoying as a Philly fan.
and listen, that's the thing is this team now, do they know they're better than you? Do they know in their mind, we have this team, we're better than this team?
Feels like,
and that's what it feels like in April, though. That's the thing. Like, how many times, like, you just beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3. Do you think the Dodgers are like, and by the way, after you beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3, they kind of slumped a little bit like that. Do you think they're worried at all?
No, not at all. The Dodgers certainly aren't worried. And that's what's weird with baseball, right? Like, I remember us talking after the Phillies take 2 or 3 from the Dodgers, and it's like, yeah, it's super early. Yeah, it's April. It doesn't matter necessarily. But I looked at that series as, that could be a catapulting, a starting point, a jumping off point for this Phillies team where, okay, that's a statement series, right? At home, like against the Dodgers, like, let's build off of this. And it seems like it went the complete opposite way after that series.
I agree, because I remember after that series, we're asking, hey, after winning 2 out of 3 and going toe-to-toe with the Dodgers, do you feel that the ceiling has been raised for this season? And people were like, yeah, of course it is. You end up, winning 2 out of 3 against that team, and then after that, they struggled a little bit. They're 16-8 right now. They've kind of bounced back, but things have not gone well for the Phillies since that time. And, you look at that series against the Dodgers and you say, hey, this is how the ceiling of this team can be when they play their best. The problem has been they are so inconsistent, and it's been the inconsistencies over the years. That's the frustrating part, because it's like, I know they can win. I know they can win a World Series if this team is playing well. It just, you get a game like today, a series like this week, and you're saying, well, I can't trust you in the big moments.
You can't trust them in the big moments, but at what point do the struggles actually impact this team's success? What I mean is their confidence level and their potential to have success, right? Because right now, they started out 8-2, and right now they're 13-11. I mean, this is bad now. Now it's not just, well, it's April. It's April. At some point, we're going to say, well, it's mid-May. Oh, it's June 1. Oh, it's July 4th. Like, at some point, you know how quickly this season goes, and this can snowball.
Well, see, I'm certainly not at the spot where I'm like, this season's over, blah, 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 blah.
Not
they
yet.
are, but you are 5 games behind the Mets right now as the calendar flips to May next week, and they're playing very good baseball. They've won 8 out of 10, 7 straight. You've lost now 4 in a row. And the one thing is, when you look at this team, at what point does Dave Dombrowski say, for the big picture, I have to shake something up? Do you wait to the trade deadline thinking, hey, by July 31st, we'll still kind of be in the race, whether it's in the division or the wild card? Right now, by the way, they're 2 games out of the wild card. it's very early, or does he get proactive and say, I've seen enough? That to me is what I think is – because here's my other thought in my mind. The Phillies offseason, they upgraded one spot, right? Starting pitching. They went out and got Luzardo, and that move's been great. Luzardo's been very good. But your starting pitching wasn't your problem. Is Dave Dombrowski sitting in his office saying, hey, we'll be okay. We've got Ranger coming back. We've got Painter ready to pitch sometime around the All-Star break. Okay, fine. But I don't need more starting pitching, really. My starting pitching hasn't been my problem. I can't score, and I can't stop other teams from scoring when my starter leaves the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, another nice outing from Wheeler. And then you have to go to Strom in the 7th. You have to go to Alvarado in the 8th, and then you look at Romano once again just completely blows it in extra innings essentially. So it's like you shouldn't be having to go to those guys. We talked about this yesterday, MG. You shouldn't have to go to those guys that early in the game. But right now you have two options essentially in the bullpen that you feel comfortable going to if you're a topper. You have two arms. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right about that, and I think that Kerkering they thought that Kerkering was ready to take a big step, and he has not taken that step. And I've been a big Kerkering guy, so I certainly can't sit here and defend him. They thought Kerkering was ready to be a bigger, higher leverage guy, and it's not working out for them right now. So I got to take that one as well, saying I thought Kerkering would be the guy this year that should be the closer. He's got the stuff. He has great stuff, but I don't think he knows when to use his stuff. He relies too much on stuff, and I think that they thought Kerkering would take a big step forward, and that has not worked out. Then you gambled with Romano being a guy who has been an all-star closer. Bring him in here at a cheaper number than what you had to pay Hoffman or Estevez, and that hasn't worked out. You also traded Dominguez last year. He hasn't given up a run yet in Baltimore. I mean, he's been outstanding for them. So you let 3 guys go last year, 4 really if you want to count Soto, who's just been iffy in Baltimore. But you let 3 arms go last year, and you only replaced him with Romano. That's it.
And you know what's crazy too? Once again, just looking at the makeup of this roster right now for the Philadelphia Phillies. Have the Phillies had a good of a 1-2 punch at the top of their starting rotation in what Zach Wheeler's been able to provide and what Sanchez has been able to provide, right? Like they're putting up numbers as a 1-2 punch that are comparable and better than Doc Holliday and Cliff Lee. You have Schwarber, who's like on pace to be a top 5 guy in MVP voting. Possibly Bryce Harper can be in that mix as well, right? So it's like you have the best 1-2 punch possibly in all of Major League Baseball, certainly in the National League. You have multiple NL MVP candidates, and yet it's like it's a dumpster fire right now, and the world is ending for Phillies fans.
Yeah, well, and that is the nature of you get swept by the Mets, and it's ugly games. There's a little lifelessness to the games, leaving a lot of guys on base, guys that you're counting on not coming through. The amount of runners they left on base in the series, they left 12 guys on base today, so you had chances. You just haven't been able to come through, and I think that's the thing of over a long 162. I go back to the show, the Clubhouse, the Red Sox show. Mm-hmm. And there's a conversation between, I think it's Tristan Cassius and I forget who the guy he's having a conversation with. But he asks him, do you think we should play 162? And the guy's like, absolutely not. It's too many games. And the other guy's like, no, that's the perfect number. Mm-hmm. That number, 162. Why 162? He's like, because that evens everything out. It evens everything out. He's like, you have 10 bad days, you have 11 good ones. You have 3 bad ones, 5 good ones. And then in the end, the 162, it all evens out that the best teams are the best and the worst teams are the worst. That you find out who can grind it, who can play every day, who's available, who can hit lefties, righties, 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 lefties, 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 lefties. Why is the lineup like this? All that stuff. That's why the 162, he was saying, that's why it works. Because you're saying you don't want to play 162.
Well, exactly.
That's why we're not good enough. Because you won't have the mental to play 162.
Well, it's interesting that there's two major leaguers having that debate, right? So it's clear there's plenty of major leaguers out there that aren't built for it or simply don't believe in it. They think it's ridiculous that you're playing 162. Other guys have been around the block, have had success in their careers. They like it and they know how to handle it and how to go about their process of being ready, when it comes time for October and Major League Baseball postseason. But let me ask you this. Is this sigh worthy of me to bring up? We're talking a lot about the bullpen, but let's not let this offense off the hook. Like Phillies
you saw the poll question.
Yeah, exactly. That if you want to bring that back up, bring that full circle, the poll question.
Right. We'll say so. I don't think people are letting the offense off the hook. Is my point.
Well, yeah, I haven't seen the updated poll numbers, but they've been held scoreless in 26 of the last 30 innings. Bryce Harper went 1 for 11 against the Mets in the past 3 games. Trey Turner 1 for 12. We can complain about the bullpen and it's valid, but my goodness, is this lineup the right lineup? Once again, back to that question. Bryce Harper, what's up with him, right? There's a lot of questions right now.
Well, the Stott thing's interesting. The Stott thing's interesting because he does not play. I mean, today Sosa played. Now, are they just not going to play Stott against lefties? Is he just flat out not going to play against lefties?
Yeah, I don't
know.
I don't think they should handle it that way. Do you? That's a mistake.
All right, let me ask you this question. Were you okay with Stott hitting for Sosa?
Am I okay with Stott hitting for Sosa?
Today in the game, Sosa had a couple of hits in the game. He's hitting about 460.
Okay.
Then the Mets went to the bullpen and brought a right-handed pitcher in the game. So what did the Phillies do? They countered, and they hit for Sosa with Stott. They also hit Weston Wilson. They put Kepler up there to hit for Wilson. And they hit Cal Stevenson for Rojas. So all of their right-handed hitters, they pinch hit for with left-handed hitters.
Yeah, I don't love it, but I don't know the reasoning behind it.
Well,
what I mean by that is, are you just trying to get guys more reps? Or are you just trying to listen? It's April. We have a long season, to your point, or are you overusing the analytics of this game, where it's every time it's a righty, we're going lefty? If it's that line of thinking, I hate that. I hate it.
Well, exactly, but that's what it is. You're not the guys you're trying to get more work were Sosa and Wilson.
Right, but I'm saying you're getting everyone involved. It's April. You gave those guys a day off / you gave the bench guys a day to start, but. We're working everyone in once it comes time, a little bit of everything. I'm saying the reasoning behind that thinking. Yeah, but I know it's just not that. Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying, I mean, listen, the Mets did it today too. Winker comes up to bat. He started the game. He's a left-handed hitter, and they hit Marte for him when the Phillies switched pitchers. Why? Winker's a lefty. The Phillies had a right-handed pitcher, or went to a left-handed pitcher, Strom. So they took Winker out of the game. Winker's killed the Phillies. Marte's been horrible this year. He's hitting 180, and yet they still pinch hit for Winker in that spot. Why? Because they don't view Winker as an everyday player, just like the Phillies don't view Marsh, Sosa, Kepler. They don't view those guys as everyday players, and the Phillies have more of them. That's one of the issues is they have more of these platoon-level players. They have so many left-handed players, and none of them can hit lefties. So they constantly have to keep making these moves all the time.
Is Rob Thompson doing too much? I posed this question to you before, and it's I don't know whether at times to praise him, because one thing that we knew about Thompson last year and the year prior, he stuck to his guns. And he's managing this team a lot differently this season. So I think it's fair to ask, is he evolving or is it a detriment?
Listen, I think his hands are tied a lot with his bullpen. His bullpen's terrible.
Agree.
And that makes you change the way that you manage a game, knowing that the bullpen's awful. That's rough. Yeah. His offense is limited with, He doesn't have a guy in the middle of the order, so he's had to shuffle his top of the order. He's lucky he moves Stott to the top of the order. That's actually worked out, and quite frankly, I don't know that that's a long-term answer there.
I don't know either. I think the problem's still Trey Turner. Like, the problems are still the problems. See, like, the protection behind Harper, Trey Turner, even JT Realmuto, even the bottom of the order guys, i.e. Brandon Marsh, Alec Boehm struggles. Right? Like, if those things don't change, coupled with the bullpen, this might not be a playoff team. Like, that's not me being dramatic.
With this bullpen over 162, it's hard to envision being a playoff team. Where you got to get through a whole summer with this crew, no.
With this island of misfit toys? Nah, no thank you. My goodness. I mean, it's good timing that we have the NFL draft tomorrow and the 76ers are in the position that they're in. I'll put it
I agree.
that way.
The Phillies have the day off tomorrow, and then they have a Friday afternoon. They play all 3 games in Chicago in the afternoon. Matt in Delaware. Cal Stevenson should not be pinch hitting for anyone. Rojas is probably the hottest hitter in the lineup at the moment. Yeah, I agree. I don't like hitting Stevenson in that spot for Rojas either. He's right. Rojas is the only guy. He had an RBI last night. He had an RBI today, and then you end up hitting for him. But I don't get mad at it. Listen, am I mad at it? I'm not mad. I don't like baseball today. That's what I don't like.
You don't have to be angry, but you can question it.
I can question it, but you're the old man yelling at the cloud. This is the game. This is the game today. Everybody does this. I don't like it. It's stupid.
But there's a balance of it. And since when is, everybody's doing it a good reason? Right? Like, I think you need to incorporate the analytics. The reality is they are incorporated. But the best managers, Mike, they have that balance. And like hitters like Rojas, if he's your best hitter over the past 2-3 days, leave him in.
Yeah, but that's the difference, man. That's where the problem is. This isn't the manager sitting there making this decision. This is the organization coming together and saying,
"Come on, in the middle of the game, though, Mike."
Yeah, it's an organizational decision. Listen, when these guys sit, right there. When there's a right-handed batter up, and he comes in and they go with a lefty, we're switching. We're doing
every
that.
single Listen, I understand that that's the organizational philosophy when they're putting the lineup cards together and their overall organizational approach. But it's at the end of the day, like in-game switches in the middle of a game, that's up to Top. Like Topper can make the call of, you know what, I know this is our approach. I decided to leave Rojas in because
I don't agree with you there at all.
Yeah, in fact, I think you're completely stripping away all of his responsibilities, and I think you're being a little bit too far on one extreme with that.
I'm just telling you the information. That I've been given from multiple people who cover not only the Phillies but baseball in general is
Mike,
these are decisions that have been made before the game. In other words, listen, these three guys, Kepler, Marsh, Rojas, Sosa. They are in the lineup because a left-handed pitcher is pitching.
Of course.
But when they switch back to a righty, let's get our lefties into the game because the analytics give us a better shot with our lefties facing their righties.
I hear you. I'm not arguing that. I know that goes on. But what also goes on is the managers are also the managers. They can also audible and make their call as the manager given circumstance. Not every time, but he could have left Rojas in that's it. That's not a huge decision. That's my point. And I think he could have made that. I know he could have made that decision. He chose not to.
This is what a team president told us on the Sports Bash.
And if there's a time where there's a mutiny, where the manager does something that we did not pre-approve or that we don't understand why he did it, that becomes a data point in our evaluation of that manager in terms of during game. It's all done not just with analytics, but with discussion. And if managers don't follow through on that plan, then you get a problem.
Yeah. Well, that's why he's hosting a podcast now. Dave
he won a World Series. He won a World Series.
I know. Yeah, listen, I'm not arguing you, but I think for you to completely ignore my point, I think is a little bit.
I'm not ignoring your point because I'm on your side.
Okay.
I wish the manager could be a part of it. It makes me sad to hear that this is the way the game is today, that these guys can't manage the game the way they want, that they are literally, this spite here, play this one right here, the bottom left corner. Play this one.
The front office is involved and goes through pre-game what the plan is and how it's going to work. We're with the manager before BP, after BP, right until the manager takes the field for the anthem. Then we're back in the manager's office after the game where we'll talk through what went on during the game that may not have been what we planned for, or maybe the decision was made that was different than what we had spoken about, or we'll talk about evaluating players who are not executing the way we need them to and talk about whether they need a rest or whether they need to be sent down. We'll talk to managers about all those things, but managers are the ones who really execute the plans that come from the front office.
They execute the plans that come from the front office. He said it.
Yeah.
Why did you do something that we didn't plan for? In other words, in the sixth inning, when Rojas comes up and there's a right-handed pitcher, bring in a left-handed hitter to hit for him.
Yes, 100%.
So I agree with what you're saying. Me as a manager, do you think I want some jamoke to tell me when to take my guy out of the game? Of course not.
No, I just I understand the philosophy, but I think that we're being a little bit too extreme where there's also instances where managers make those judgment calls at times in game, in April, in May, in June, even in playoff games. Something that we gave Topper so much credit for was he goes by his gut. We talked about that at great extent in the World Series run. You know what? We love this guy. He listens to his gut. He's not always the analytics guy. And it feels like this year, which is why we posed the question, is he being too over the top? And then that's how we got into this whole debate. It feels like he's doing a lot less, or he's not the guy he used to be, and maybe the team stripped away some of those responsibilities.
Well, and as you heard what Samson says is the manager is there to execute the plan that comes from the front office. So in other words, here's the lineup. This is how many pitches this guy's going to throw. Topper said it last night. He gave away the secret potion a little bit because they asked about Suarez, and he said it was 5 innings or 65 pitches. That's what the plan was. Right? 5 innings or 65 pitches. Whatever one you hit first, you had no choice. You're not going past the number 65. You're not going, into the 6th inning. That's not happening. These things are all, and he said, the manager is there to execute the plan. I agree with everybody out there. I want the manager to not be micromanaged. I want him to make the decisions on his own. But the decisions that the Phillies are making, they're talking about in the post game, I don't care about lefty versus righty. Well, neither do I in most cases. I don't need Cal Stevenson to come up and hit. Cal Stevenson has done nothing to show that he gets to go up there and hit because he happens to be left-handed.
It's crazy, and it's a shame what it's done to the game, and it's even more so the pitch count and the restrictions and the leashes that these pitchers have been put on. It's disgusting. And we see it with Painter. Where's Painter? I know he's, injuries and stuff, but it's that whole bubble boy stuff is crazy too.
All right, we'll take a quickie timeout. I want you to think more about what we just kind of heard and have been talking about and how it's influenced potentially this team. Because I think the Phillies deal with it more than other teams because of how left-handed they are. That is a major other problem that this team has to figure out. More Sports Bash coming up. All right, 536 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Let's dive into another segment. Ran a little long in the first segment there, but we got a little bit of time left to go here to close out the second portion of Ryer's Side. What do you sign on from the first segment? Anything?
Yeah, no, I thought that was a good conversation. I was reading up on just a little bit more about just our overall debate and convo about analytics and how it's impacting manager decisions. And, the topic of bunts and stolen bases came up. Like, it's like the scene from Moneyball where Pitt's like, if a team bunts, just pick the ball up and throw it to first. Like, they're giving us an out.
Yeah.
I think that's
the Moneyball is interesting because that was the start of Billy Beane saying, play Hatterberg. And the manager's like, no. And he's like, play Hatterberg. And he's like, no. And finally he says, you don't want to play Hatterberg? I'll just trade Giambi. I mean, I'll just trade who was the first baseman? He ended up getting traded to Tampa Bay. Man,
yeah, I know.
He was like the rookie of the year.
Yeah, I'm forgetting.
Carlos Pena.
Yes,
he says, no, I'm playing Pena. And basically it got to the point where he was like, no, you're not playing Pena because I traded him. So this is the precursor of, I mean, they gave you a glimpse into, this is the GM telling the manager, and this is who we want you to play. This is who we want you to play. Now, this is like in 2001 or 2. 25 years later, if you think Billy Beane is the only guy telling the manager who he has to play, sorry, man, we're not watching the game the same way. Not you, I'm just saying in general.
Right. The pendulum has swung to the extreme. And I think, or I wonder, I guess.
Like all sports.
Yeah, exactly. When will it swing back? If ever.
It's a good question. At what point? This is, by the way, the cautious thing. He goes through why you need 162 games. So he says, you need 162 games. I'll tell you why. Over 162, you are really able to tell the best team. Whoever wins the World Series, it's not a fluke. It takes depth. The difference between a player hitting 260, 300, and 330, it's not as much as you think. If you hit 260, you probably had about one less hit a week than the guy who hits 300. It takes that attention to detail, the focus, every single at-bat to be able to scrap out that one extra hit a week. That's a 300 hitter versus a 260 hitter. Pretty interesting.
It is very interesting. It's crazy when you put it into those simple terms of it's the difference of one hit a week from being just a guy, to being enshrined. Essentially it's
one hit. One hit a week, he says. One hit a week. A blooper here, a flare there, a little two hopper through the infield, one that goes between short and third, and they stared. And last night, how about that play in the Phillies game where Tanner Banks throws the ball over the first baseman's head, and they gave him a hit for it?
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe that, dude. I can't believe that it was even a hit. But really good conversation. I wanted to work this in. I know we have 3 or 4 minutes left, whatever it is. But NFL draft tomorrow. I wanted to get in some of the biggest stories, and I wanted to focus in actually on the Giants and the Sanders talk, because here's my take. I think this pick with the New York Giants, and because it impacts the Eagles and the NFC East, is going to dictate the future of that team, for the next 10 or 15 years, and how it impacts the Eagles in this division. Because there's so much talk about picking Sanders and not to pick Sanders, and I think if they get caught up in we need to pick Sanders because we think it's the best decision, that it's actually going to be a detriment to them. I'm hoping they actually go about it and pick Sanders, is my take. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
I would be happy if they ended up taking Sanders.
Me too.
And this isn't you're hating on Sanders.
No. It's more about the Giants.
I can't believe, first off, they retired his jersey at Colorado. He went 13-12 with a 1-8 record against top 25 teams and was 0-1 in a bowl game. And he got his jersey retired.
How does that happen? It's insane. Hunter did too.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Cordell Stewart, who was 27-5-1 as a starter at Colorado, he didn't get his jersey retired. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs. I actually fraudulently slipped this morning and said that the Giants will not take LeBron's kid. And I meant Dion's kid. But
LeBron's
essentially,
kid.
are we talking about like Bronny James? Like, is this kid actually the number 3 overall pick in the draft, talent-wise? There's just no way. And that's not to say that he's bad, but he just doesn't have the arm strength. Just doesn't have a big enough college resume to really say, hey, this is a standout top number 1, number 2, or number 3 overall pick in the draft. You want to take a guy in the second round and, say, hey, we hope that he becomes a really good player. He has great bloodlines. He's been, an excellent player at times. But if the Giants take him at number 3 with that offensive line,
it doesn't make sense. Like, the Giants have to build a football team before you bring in a guy like Sanders who needs work and he needs the right team around him. I think if the Giants don't take him at 3, that Sanders could fall to the second round. I really do.
100%. And you're starting to see that in a lot of the mock drafts now.
Yeah.
And by the way, keep this in mind. If Sanders falls and he's on the board at 32, would teams call the Eagles then to say, hey, we want the quarterback at 32 for the 5th-year option, much like Baltimore did in 2017 when they traded up and they took Lamar Jackson. The Eagles traded out of the 32nd pick to Baltimore. Baltimore took Lamar Jackson, and the rest is history. Could that happen again if a Sanders or a Dart or a Milroe are on the board at 32? Will teams start calling the Eagles and say, because teams want to draft a quarterback that they can get the 5th-year option on so they can have that guy in their system for 5 years?
Yeah, no, true. It's a great point. And it's another point that just illustrates, like, you can do as many mock drafts as you want, but the reality of it is until you get to draft day, bleep happens and things and plans changes, right? Like, Howie is not he's planning for everything. But my point is, you're not expecting that to happen. And if it does and a team calls, you get an opportunity, and it's how you handle that opportunity. So, yeah, I think that's interesting to bring that up.
Yeah, I think if you think about that aspect of it, if there's quarterbacks that fall to 32, that a team like the Giants or Cleveland, they don't want to take them in the first round, but they're willing to say, we'll see if they're there in the second round.
Yeah, I think that would be very interesting to see how he swindles a team into getting, acquiring more draft capital and getting another, draft pick out of it. I think Dart's the most intriguing quarterback prospect for tomorrow. We'll see where he potentially lands, but I could see him going to the Steelers, maybe the Saints. But, yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm excited to see what the Eagles do because they actually sneakily have some need, the Eagles.
Yeah, I think the Eagles have a lot of need. Like, they need to add a replacement for Josh Sweat. They need to get more depth because they lost Milton Williams. They need to possibly get another corner because they lost Darius Slay and Isaiah Rodgers. They probably need a safety. What's going to happen with Goddard? I mean, these are all big time questions that are basically going to be debated tomorrow throughout the day. Of what's the priority of restocking these losses?
Yeah. What is their priority if you're Howie, right? To your point of those positions we just ran through. Is it safety? Is it tight end? Is it Milton Williams replacement, right? Like what linebacker? All on the table.
Linebacker I don't see happening tomorrow night. Do you?
No, not tomorrow night, but maybe, second, third round, absolutely. It seems to be like the sweet spot for Howie with that position. But tomorrow, my intrigue is it safety or is it D-tackle?
I think D-tackle is higher on their priority list in terms of what they would draft in the first round. Now, if they want to move up, I think it would be to get an edge or a D-tackle.
Yeah. I just don't know what – I wouldn't be shocked if they move up. Of course, anything's possible. And if the right opportunity to move up, comes their way, sure, but I don't want to give up too much. It just doesn't seem like this is a year for the Eagles to force themselves to move up. That's all.
And they have 20 picks in the next 2 drafts. Keep that in mind. And I wonder, because they have 20 picks in the next 2 drafts, does that preclude them from trading back to add more picks?
Yeah, I would say that has to be weighing heavily on their minds and impacting how they do business over the course of this draft. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. You go back into the second, third round and get more picks and more picks. You're like, how many picks? You can't keep all these guys. So I wouldn't be shocked if they made them, like right now, 5:46 on Wednesday night. my initial thought would be best case scenario or highest percentage chance of happening, they move up.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Just because they have so much capital and they're able to afford to spend a little bit. That's your thinking. That's your thinking behind it.
Yeah, because of the 20 picks they have
Yeah.
over the next this year and next year. So you just can't keep adding more picks.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It should
Got
be
any-
interesting.
Got any big draft plans tomorrow night?
No, man. Possibly pop over with you for our segment. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But no plans, man. I'm just excited. I'm excited for the draft. It seems like every year it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like a literal music. It's like Bonnaroo. Did you see the Did you see the stage they have at Green Bay? It's nuts.
I know. In fact, we had Q Myers on earlier. He's out there, and he was saying how cool it is, the vibe in Green Bay for this event.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's crazy how big. But he did acknowledge and said the buzz for this year's draft isn't because there's not the quarterbacks. There's not those like high profile quarterbacks, so the buzz isn't quite as big.
Interesting. Yeah. Sanders certainly getting all the buzz, but should be good.
All right, man. We'll do it again tomorrow.
All right, brother. Later.
All right, that's Ryer Sai, and we'll do it again tomorrow on the Sports Bash. We will be live at Ocean Casino at the Gallery Bar Booking Games. We'll wrap up the show and give you details on that coming up next. All right, time for the Bet365 play of the day. We'll get you out of here on that. Let's see how we did last night, though, before we get you tonight's plays.
Well, Mike, you went 3-0, but there's a catch. So the Lakers-Minnesota game hit the under, way under, 209.5. Memphis covered the 14.5. The problem is that the third pick, my chicken scratch is so bad that you have me turning so many different ways. I don't remember the other pick you had for the Memphis OKC game, but you gave me Canning over the 4.5. I know that wasn't one of your picks, but I'm giving it to you anyway because he had 5 strikeouts because my chicken scratch is so bad. But I do know for a fact you are 154, 101.
I think last night it was Memphis, OKC, under, and I took Oklahoma City with the points.
Well, I have the points.
14.5.
Yeah.
And I took the under in that game. And I took the Minnesota Laker game you talked about.
Yeah.
Right. There you go.
154, 101.
154, 101. Here we go for tonight. Here we go. Where is my picks for tonight? There we are. I like the Cavs plus 12 against the Heat. Over 212. Over 212. Cavs plus 12. That is my Bet365 play of the day.
You mean Cavs minus 12?
Yes, the Heat are plus 12. I like the Cavs minus 12 today.
Gotcha.
Yeah, sorry. I wrote down on my paper, the line is 12. I wrote plus 12. Sorry. Okay.
Is that the only one? Just that one?
I got the Cavs and the over.
Oh, and the over.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure my chicken scratch is not going to ruin this again here.
Tomorrow I'm going to be at Gallery Bar Booking Games, Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Yeah, you don't have to see my face for 4 hours.
Yeah, but I'll get to see everybody else's faces for 4 hours. Hopefully we have a great crowd out there tomorrow. Can't wait to get out and see all the people. We're going to be live at the Gallery Bar Booking Games. Remember, we'll have the Super Bowl trophy out there tomorrow. If you can't make it out tomorrow, if you did not register and you want to get your picture taken with the trophy, Friday we're going to be at Boardwalk Honda, right up the road on Tilton Road in EHT. That's on Friday. Tomorrow we'll have the Super Bowl trophy at the Eagles draft party at Ocean Casino for our draft party at the Gallery. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.